It's game time. You ready? It's time for part 3, where I read Omake text, and you stare at the same screen for 2 hours. This is not a stream I advise watching, but it is a stream I advise listening. So I'm gonna do my best, and continue what I'm doing. I may be a little tired, but it's not gonna stop me from completing my mission. So, we're starting with Mountain of Faith today. Mountain of Faith! Oh! Of course, the first character from Mountain of Faith is the ever well-known, the amazing, most popular character I've ever seen, Minoriko. Ready? Let's begin. Let's get right into it. Stage 1 boss, the symbol of abundance and harvest, Minoriko Aki. Species, harvest goddess. Abilities, governing abundant harvest. The first stage boss and Shizuha's younger sister. Normally they rule over Autumn as sisters. She's called to the village as a special guest at the harvest festival every year. If she is not called before the harvest, she is not able to guarantee an abundant harvest. But that's not her problem, and she would not point it out. Oh. She's always surrounded by sweet scent of fruits and other harvest items, and has something of a superiority complex with regards to her older sister. When winter comes, she becomes sorrowful. Okay. Alright. Well, unsurprisingly, that's all you get. But there's actually something there that I thought was kind of funny. So, I'm still gonna put her here. But here's what I thought was funny. I like this part here. Unless she's called before the harvest, she's not able to guarantee an abundant harvest. But that's not her problem, and she would not point it out. Gods live on their faith, right? Gods accumulate faith, they collect faith. It's it's their source of life. The fact that it says here that Minoriko does not give a shit. Well, I wouldn't say it that severe. That's not her problem, and she would not point it out. I don't know, Minoriko. It sounds like something you should probably point out if people want to believe in, the fact that you're a harvest goddess, because you're pretty small time when you think about it. But when you're acting like that, like, come on now. Unbelievable. I guess I didn't realize she's that sassy, It's kind of sassy. I just didn't expect that from her. Well, whatever. Next character. By the way, Minoriko has no friends either. Just like Jun. Might even be worse than Jun. Alright, she's a symbol of loneliness and demise. Shizuha Aki. Species, goddess of autumn leaves. Abilities, governing autumn leaves. The older sister of the stage 1 boss, Minoriko. Normally they control autumn together as sisters. They're not terribly good at fighting, but they thought they'd come to warn and punish the humans who came to disrupt the autumn. She believes that the autumn colors of the turning leaves are the best thing about autumn, and is filled with a sense of superiority when she can show her younger sister their beauty. When winter comes, she becomes sorrowful. That's even less information. Not so unsurprising. Alright. So yeah, these two characters, they're a bit interesting in that, Minoriko likes, Minoriko respects her sister and likes, what she does for Autumn, and then, Shizuha is a bit jealous of Minoriko's popularity due to being a harvest goddess. So they have a bit of a grass is always greener sort of situation, where they're both jealous of each other's talents. That's kind of nice. But that doesn't really matter, because once these characters showed up once, they never showed up again. The end. The end. In fact, I don't know how many of you knew this, but for a long time, the Aki sisters, their most notable characteristic was how forgettable they are. That's how people remembered these characters for a long time. They remembered them because they were so forgettable. It was that much of a talent that they ended up being memorable. Which, that would argue that that's the complete opposite of being forgettable, right? But that's the funny thing about them. Just a couple of characters that exist, I guess, maybe, sure. Shizuha has even less friends than her sister. I like when I get to the relationships tab and there's just nothing. Just her sister. That's it. No friends. Shizuha has no friends. Hina. Hina. The stage 2 boss, the hidden god, Nagashi Bina. Hina Kagiyama. Species, misfortune god. Power, stockpiling misfortune. Head of the tragic Nagashi Bina doll army. It's an interesting phrasing, word choice for that. She gathers and hoards bad luck expelled during cleansing rituals. The baleful aura that surrounds her is visible, even to the untrained eye. You can literally see the bad juju coming off of her. Any human or yokai around her will run into misfortune. However, she herself never has this problem. It only affects those around her. Hina does her best to make sure that misfortune does not befall humans once again. That is not any real information, unsurprisingly. So here's something interesting about Hina. So as you know, Hina is a god, yokai, more god. She's kind of a weird in-between, I guess. But, well, yeah, she, misfortune gathers around her because it's based on the Hina doll festival, where people would float Hina dolls down the river, and the Hina dolls were supposed to like basically take the humans' misfortune with them and just go down the river. Sounds kind of bad when you think about where they all end up, especially if they're not biodegradable, right? But whatever, tradition back in the day didn't have to make too much sense, you know? So anyway, she's based on that, obviously. And she gathers misfortune around her, but it doesn't affect her herself, but it's like palpable. You can see it on her. And if you hang out around her, you're affected by the misfortune that she gathers and swarms around her. Now, what's interesting is that even though Hina is very much avoided by a lot of people in the universe, she doesn't really let it get her down. She's actually got a pretty upbeat and positive personality. And it's amazing that she manages to, like, survive, considering she's partially a god, if not fully a god, because she's species is misfortune god. But gods survive on faith, but I guess they can also survive on fear, because fear is a type of faith, a type of belief. But no, she really doesn't have any, like, she doesn't have a lot of interactions with others, but it doesn't really affect her attitude, which is pretty good. Which is pretty good, you know? She manages to keep a positive attitude towards life, even though she is, like, walking misfortune. But she herself isn't affected by it. She only walks around and prevents others from being affected by it. She's like a hero or something. Anyway, next is, Alright. Nitori has like 6. Christ. Look at that. That's good. Alright. 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 The stage 3 boss, the Super Yokai Warhead. I fucking love that title. That's a powerful title right there. The Super Yokai Warhead. That's so extreme. Nitori Kawashiro. Species Kappa, ability manipulating water. A Kappa that lives on Yokai Mountain. For a long time, Kappa haven't let themselves be seen by humans, but since they usually hide to watch humans, they like to think they are on good terms with humans. Oh. Is that why? She may suddenly change her attitude or speech, and she possesses a rather odd personality, but she's unexpectedly shy. She runs away the moment she sees a human. That's just... wow, this Omake did not stand up to the test of time at all, did it? Since she's an engineering nyat, whenever she sees something man-made, she takes it apart and puts it back together. Because of this, her clothes are stuffed with tools. Okay. I mean, I knew she was packing. She wanted to turn away Reimu and the others who had entered the mountain, but this is only because she believed that there was some sort of emergency occurring on the mountain. Okay, well, there you go. There's your sick Nitori lore. Alright. Eek, a human, yeah, her optical camouflage. And then when she comes back, she's like, I like money. You're not gonna pay up? Well, here's my crowbar. Coming right for your legs. Goodbye, say goodbye to your shins, you fucker. Like a paranormal relationships. That's partially correct. Parasocial relationships. That's right. We're chill. I hang out in the river and watch the humans. We're like best friends. We're good. We're good. Mountain of Faith, stage 3. This is the okay. So that was the manual. That was the demo text. This is the manual text. Let's see. It's exactly the same up into. Let's see. Okay, it's literally the same word for word up to the final sentence and the last part. It added a couple extra words. Okay. She believed there was some sort of emergency occurring in the mountain, and she thought the humans would be in danger. In the end, since Reimu and company didn't take her advice, Nitori secretly decided to let them into the mountain. She thought it would be interesting to watch them interact with the mysterious new god. As a result of the ensuing battle, the Kappa came to accept the new god of the mountain. True. Alright. Subterranean Animism. Super Yokai Warhead. I like the idea of Nitori just, you know, carrying around like a nuke or some shit like that to live up to her title of Super Yokai Warhead. Nitori Kawashiro, species Kappa, ability manipulating water. A Kappa Papa that lives on the mountain. Recently, the Kappa have heard some great news that greatly excited them. According to the gods of the mountain, a high-temperature nuclear furnace was being completed underground. They wanted to get their hands on it as soon as possible to perform various tests with it. However, the Kappa didn't want to go underground where the Oni lived. As they were wondering how they could investigate the underground, they heard a rumor that Reimu was going there at the request of the other yokai. Ever taking the initiative, Nitori decided to go convince Marissa to explore underground since Marissa didn't seem to have anything better to do. Yeah. Thank you, Lydiana, for the tier 2. And we got Hopeless Masquerade. Handyman of the River, Kawashiro Nitori. The village is reverberating with sounds of the festival. Many street fights are breaking out all over the place among the influential, and the people appear to be excited. Excitement and zeal give birth to believers. There's nothing more than being used in a good way by the religionists. Some of the Kappa had a culture of hating religion. Oh, is that so? Special skill, Water Sprite Energy. Nitori is equipped with many weapons, but using them requires energy. Without enough energy, the weapon's efficiency decreases and can become unusable. The energy does not get refilled until the round ends, so it requires a carefully executed pace. Sorry, I lost what I was doing there. Last words, Super Scope 3D. Nitori cloaks herself with the optical camouflage and retreats, then begins firing explosives through the air from outside the field. That's fucking Snake's Final Smash in Brawl, the grenade launcher. The movement keys adjust the aim, and the weak melee attack key fires, and the fired shells will explode when they reach where they're aiming. Repeated shots will enhance your shells, causing the damage as well as the explosion range to be strengthened. It's actually... Holy shit. That is actually Snake's Final Smash in Brawl. The fucking grenade launcher. It's showtime. And then we have Urban Legend in Limbo. Ancient. The Triassic Kappa. Nitori Kawashiro. Occult name Loch Ness Monster. Nessie. Again in this game, Nitori's focused on nothing but utilizing the strife over the balls for her business. And she comes bearing an occult ball-powered Nessie model. The Nessie model has an artillery battery that can independently deploy backup fire, but if you run out of power, you will lose the occult ball, so this double-edged sword may make or break your advantage. I see. Antinomy of common flowers, business-minded and miserly Kappa. Nitori Kawashiro. Alright, I got my hands on a real good sample. A river dweller who's devoted to technology and finances. Sensing a business opportunity in the incident, the Kappa enters the possession battles to solve the mystery of perfect possession. Soon, this unexpectedly leads her to the very heart of the incident. Her biggest selling point is the wide variety of projectiles granted by her various weapons, perfect for those who are suffering from chronically sparse Danmaku. Alright. Now, I'm gonna be real with ya, there wasn't much there. So, despite having 6 different, like, Omake texts, here's what I learned. Nitori, Kappa don't really, you know, they don't really interact with humans. They're a bit shy, but they like to believe they're on good terms with humans. She's an engineer, and she likes ripping things apart to see how they work. And, you know, some Kappa hate religion, and they have gun. There's a lot more for Nitori. There's a lot more for Nitori just in the games that she's actually a part of, as well as written works. Like, she's definitely a character who shows up and you really get a taste of her kind of character. Like, in Visionaries, for example, there's the chapter where they, the Kappa opened the canyoning. The Kappa opened the canyoning by, you know, the Genbu ravine goes a bit out of control. And so they start, like, offering, like, hey, you guys want to, like, go down the river? For a price, we guarantee your safety for a price. And, you know, she really emphasizes the fact that if you try to do this without paying the money, you're not going to be in a good time having. That's for sure. It's all about the money, baby. What do they spend all that money on? I'm not sure. I assume it's, you know, they spend it on their parts and equipment and stuff. But where do they get this stuff anyway? But they get the money, but who are they buying parts and services from? Or I guess it's just for the sake of their own economy, huh? But we also know that the Yamawaro and the Kappa, despite not being on the best of terms, they still have like a mutual, what's the word here? What's the word I'm looking for? They still conduct business with each other because they need each other's like expertise for their own things. I'm having trouble finding my words. Oh. Yeah, she's a character there's not a lot in there for the Omake. So I'm gonna put her in neat, I guess. I thought it was kind of neat, but there's definitely a lot more Nitori you can get from other stuff outside of the Omake text, which is kind of interesting since there's so many of them in here. I mean, to be fair, 2 of them are exactly the same, and 3 of them are fighting game texts, which, unless you're like specifically from that game, you're not getting much in the way of that to begin with. Alright, next. Awu! Momiji! Oh, she has one. We'll color me impressed. Stage 4 mid-boss, the Petty Patrol Tengu? Why are we calling her Petty? Who wrote this, Aya? Momiji Inubashiri, species White Wolf Tengu, ability seeing 1,000 ri ahead. So her ability is clairvoyance. She can see like everything on the mountain. It's kind of an insane ability for a character. I don't even know if it's like specific to her or it's just White Wolf Tengu in general. Where am I? A Tengu that patrols the Yokai Mountain. Thanks to her superior senses of sight and smell, she can detect any intruder in an instant. When she discovers intruders, she attempts to intimidate them with simple attacks, and once they cannot handle the intruders, they report to the Great Tengu. Her forces are usually lying in wait behind the waterfall. She has a very cooperative personality and executes her duties faithfully. This is unusual for yokai, but not uncommon in Tengu society. However, she usually has a lot of free time, as the Yokai Mountain doesn't receive many intruders. While awaiting orders, she enjoys playing a rather time-consuming game called Dai Shogi with the nearby Kappa. It's hard for her, for the especially long-lived yokai, to find good ways to pass the time. Well, honestly, now here's the thing. It's in the Omake text, but almost everything here was listed somewhere else. So in Aya's Omake text, I'm pretty sure in Aya's Omake text, it mentioned that Momiji went and reported the Great Tengu after going down. And also in Bohemium, or not Bohemium, I think it was Symposium. But there's I remember Aya writing an article about the Tengu, like the White Wolf Tengu, and ended up specifying Momiji because she's the only White Wolf Tengu we actually know. And she talked about how the White Wolf Tengu enjoy playing shogi, but they're so good at it that they've ended up creating their own rules over time. And now some games of shogi take like a matter of days to actually complete, which for a Tengu, that's no time at all. But holy shit, could you imagine playing like a 72-hour game of shogi? What the fuck? Why? There's so much shit going on. Explain the rules of Dai Shogi right now. How many pieces they got? How many pieces? How do you win? Do you just get every piece? Shit goes on. Like here's, yeah, it's from Symposium and Post Mysticism. Here's the image. This is the article image that goes with it. So this is Momiji, and she is staring at her shogi piece. So this is from Symposium and Post Mysticism. It's the only thing from what do you call it? The only thing related to Momiji we ever got out after Mountain of Faith. And, you know, she's actually, like, an incredibly popular character, and I firmly believe it's because she is a wolf girl. If Momiji wasn't a wolf girl, I don't think she'd be as popular as she is. But here's a picture from her from Oriental Sacred Place. It's very small, but here it is. Look at this. Nice. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't like Momiji. I like Momiji a lot. I think Momiji's pretty sick. I'm just saying that I think Momiji's popularity can be attributed to what she is when you compare it to the amount of appearances she had, you know. The word that was translated as petty, which it means low-ranking official. Low-ranking official sounds better than petty. But I guess petty officer is a rank, right? So I guess that's the idea. They were calling it petty as in petty officer, not petty as in like spiteful. That kind of makes sense. Anyway, I'm on Sanae. Sanae has about 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Holy mother of God, that's a lot of text. Okay. The deified human of the wind, Sanae Kochiya. Species, human. Occupation, wind priestess. Ability, causing miracles. A human who possesses the knowledge of a secretly inherited art. She has a very straightforward personality, so she has a lot of confidence in her own abilities. Sometimes, perhaps a bit too much confidence. Wind priestesses were originally devotees of the wind god, but as they used their secret abilities to create miracles, such as summoning the wind and rain, the people around them began to believe in these humans with mysterious abilities. In short, over time, people began to mistake the miracles caused by the wind god as being caused by them. In addition, as keeper of secrets, they began to accrue faith and be treated as gods even though they were human. They became living gods. So this is the explanation as to why Sanae is a half-human, half-god. She ended up becoming a demigod because she was, you know, the things she did were caused by the wind god, but they were eventually people started believing that it was the priestesses themselves. So she accrued faith and was treated as a god. And something interesting about faith is that it can change people. Something that's cool about Gensokyo is the urban legend stuff, which I really like, because in Gensokyo, urban legends are a thing that can be made a reality if enough people within Gensokyo believe it to be. So, there were a few urban legends, like, urban legends are cool like that, because there's an urban legend in Wildhorn Hermit about the Bull Man. So, the Bull Man was an urban legend that was just about how a man with the head of a bull would show up, and if you saw him, like, something would happen, but nobody knew what would happen, because if you figure out, like, what would happen, you'd just die, and everybody, you know, and then eventually, if more people believe in this kind of thing, then eventually it like, shows up in Gensokyo, because there's enough belief in its existence. Because yokai, that's what yokai are. Yokai are the personification of fear of humans, right? Fear of the unknowns turn into yokai. And the most interesting one, I think, was when they found a what's it called? They found a tabloid magazine. They found a tabloid magazine that talked about the end of the world in 2012. So that was timely, right? So a tabloid magazine talking about how the world's gonna end in 2012 made its way into Gensokyo. And a few characters laughed at it, but as it started kind of like making a bit of a circulation, and then one character was like, wait a minute, if people start believing this to be the case, doesn't that mean the world's gonna end in Gensokyo if enough people believe it? And, you know, spoiler alert, Gensokyo didn't end, but it was just for a moment there. It's like, haha, that's silly, but in Gensokyo, if enough people believe it, it actually comes true. And when you're talking about a grand scale event like, oh yeah, the world's just gonna fucking end, that's a bit scary, don't you think? That means Gensokyo could accidentally just completely explode itself if it believes that the world is just going to end. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy how if enough people in Gensokyo believe that Gensokyo is just going to be destroyed by a random unknown force, it'll just happen? Anyway, where am I? I got sidetracked. When she was young, Sanae had mastered the secrets to call upon miracles that have been passed down through an oral tradition only. A young girl that could call upon the power of miracles would certainly collect great amounts of faith, one would expect. However, the outside world had changed a great deal. Faith and even gods with many divine virtues had been decreasing rapidly. There were few who would worship even a living god who had attained divinity during their life as a human. Though she didn't really have much faith, Sanae was able to live as a normal human without any real problems, but this would not do for the god she worshipped, Kanako. When people lose faith in gods, the gods lose their power. They can't manifest their divine virtues. This is the same as death for a god. Kanako came to a decision. There were limits to the amount of faith that could become from humans. From now on, she would have to also look to yokai as a source of her faith. Sanae was surprised to hear the details of her plan. A world called Gensokyo had existed within our nation since time immemorial. It is said that this world still exists, hidden. Gensokyo has collected a number of things that would have become lost or become fantasy in the outside world. One could say that even people's faith in gods is the process of moving to Gensokyo. And so, Kanako decided to move her shrine into Gensokyo. She would say farewell to the world of humans. Sanae was afraid of leaving the world of humans, but as a person with the power to call on miracles, going to a world of miracles was one of the fun parts. She did not take the humans of Gensokyo seriously. She thought that if they threatened the only shrine in Gensokyo, the Hatate Shrine, Gensokyo itself would submit to their every wish. She went to deliver her ominous message to Reimu, and then was in turn defeated. So if you didn't know, the events of Mountain of Faith, so the shrine moves into the top of Yokai Mountain. Sanae comes down to Reimu's shrine and just disses Reimu, and Reimu's like, what the fuck? And so Reimu sets off towards the mountain to see who the fuck that was. She basically just traveled up the mountain to tell Sanae to watch her tone. Watch your tone! The humans who lived in Gensokyo were more troublesome than she imagined, and in time she learned of a power they held as well. Here, she was nothing special. She realized she had gone from being a god incarnate to just a normal human being. All she could do now was to live a normal, peaceful life as a human of Gensokyo. Now, you know what's interesting about this Omake? Is it actually expresses that Sanae had a bit of a... what's the word? She was a bit afraid of leaving the world of humans. That is the only thing I've ever seen actually mentioned at all, how Sanae felt about going to Gensokyo. Because Sanae has always been a very happy, bubbly character, you know? She's always having fun and enjoying life. But I've always wondered, how is she so easily ready to leave the outside world with Kanako? Without, why does she feel homesick? Like, what did she leave behind in the outside world? So, there's not much specification there. She was apprehensive a little bit if it's saying she was afraid of leaving, but it doesn't specify why she was afraid of leaving. Maybe it's just because it would be so different for her. But again, we don't know anything about Sanae's home life or anything like that either. We just know that she did, in fact, abandon everything that she was in the outside world to go to Gensokyo with the god she worshipped. And in turn, she became less of a god and more of a human in Gensokyo. I just find it funny how the sentence says, Sanae was afraid, and then as soon as Sanae arrived in Gensokyo, she was like, wait a minute, I'm the hottest shit since sliced bread. And so she goes down to pick a fight with Reimu. Neat. It's one of those things that we're never going to get information on it. And also, we've never seen Sanae interact with Sumireko because that's a whole nother can of worms. But it's just, you know, it's a cool... I think it's an interesting aspect of the character to explore and think about. Like, what was Sanae's life before going against Sokyo? What was she like? Why was she so why was she so easily able to make such a great decision that she couldn't, like, you know, turn back on? I don't think her life necessarily in the outside world was bad, and there was nothing that kept her there, but I also feel like maybe she was just the excitable, adventurous sort. So since there wasn't really anything there keeping her interested, like the main thing in her life, everything she's ever known in her life was the shrine, because it even says how she learned their art. She learned the oral tradition of calling upon miracles when she was young. So the shrine business has been in her blood for years. So it's all she's ever known. So I guess if something like that just up and left, what would happen to her, right? She just like... I guess there was more for her to stay with the gods that she spent so much time with than to stay behind in the human world. I have no idea, though. Who knows? Who knows? It's just one of those things about the characters. It's one of those things that is not explored with a character and will likely never be explored with a character. But it's a cool thing to think about because you it's all up to your own interpretation, so there's not really a wrong answer. I mean, that's just headcanon in general. You can believe whatever you want. Just don't try to convince other people that your headcanon is anything more than headcanon. That's all. Next, undefined fantastic object. The newbie goddess of the mountain, Sanae Kochiya. Species human, ability causing miracles. The shrine maiden living in Moriya Shrine in Yokai Mountain. She is not used to yokai hunting. She wishes to talk to humans more because she lives with gods and yokai, but most of humans living around the foot of the mountain are yokai like humans. She's worried about becoming like them, as may be expected of a living god. She is as strong as a yokai, but she's also somewhat of an airhead. Everyone's an airhead in this series. She tries to do something like yokai hunting on Kanako's recommendation, and she makes an effort to get used to Gensokyo. Yeah, so Reimu Sanae becomes Reimu player 2, because Kanako's like, hey, Sanae, if you're bored, you could try doing that, yokai extermination thing that those other two people do. And she was like, bitchin'. And so she heads out to destroy a yokai, because I guess it's good for business. Next, Hisotensoku. The deified human of the wind, Sanae Kochiya. It's already been 2 years since she came to Gensokyo. That's scary, alright? Listen, that's scary, because this just straight up mentioned that it has been 2 years since they came to Gensokyo. I don't know what Sanae's age is, could be anywhere from 10 to 20. But, this is important. Mountain of Faith came out like 2007, right? That game is 15 years old, right? And Sumireko debuted as modern day teenager girl in like 2015 or some shit like that, right? So the thing is, Sanae and Sumireko are both from the same world, but they've never interacted. And I think a big reason for that is because if those two characters interact, it's fucking confusing. Because Sanae is basically Sumireko's age when she came to Gensokyo. But the outside world is equal to present day. So time has passed since Mountain of Faith. So Sumireko should be a teenager of modern times, where old Sanae is thinking the PS2 is a new system. You know what I mean? So those two having a conversation would be confusing as shit, because there's a decade between them. But they never interacted, despite those two characters making sense to interact because they're both from the outside world. You know what I mean? You know what I mean though? It's so weird. But you'll never see Sumireko and Sanae talk to each other because I just don't know how you'd write it. Because you spend so much time trying to take away from, like, you try to pretend the fact that time passes in Gensokyo, but characters don't change in appearance. But with a character so deeply rooted in, like, modern times and the times changing as Sanae and Sumireko, especially Sumireko, because like I said, Sumireko 100% represents modern-day teenagers, and she represents the modern outside world compared to Gensokyo, whereas Sanae was that a decade ago, right? Over a decade ago. These characters can't talk to each other because it's like meeting your doppelganger. You know, the universe will implode. All right, where am I? Yeah, so it's already been 2 years since she came to Gensokyo. At first, she was so frightened by the bizarre monsters that she simply couldn't perform the rituals of a shrine maiden, but now she's become familiar with them and carried out her daily jobs without any discomfort. She thought that she wouldn't be surprised by some things anymore. Of course, thinking like that in Gensokyo ensures that you will be surprised. That is Gensokyo's strong point, not present in the outside world. She saw a huge figure from the Moriya shrine. The figure was far bigger than the shrine. She guessed that, to use a classical comparison, it was about as big as a 10-story building. The figure seemed to her like a giant robot from some old anime she watched. See, old anime is highlighted in blue and it links to Gundam. So, you know, I guess when you think of giant robots, you tend to think of Gundam first, huh? But its movements were too smooth to be a robot's. The figure moved as if it were alive, occasionally overlooking the mountain, occasionally shooting a glare at the village. Then it was suddenly shrouded in mist and disappeared with an uncanny silence. When she reported it to Kanako, she told her it was the Brocken Spectre. The Brocken Spectre is a meteorological phenomenon caused by a reflection of your own shadow on mist that seemed to the observer to be a giant. What? In reality, be it a meteorological phenomenon or something else, thinking like that wasn't interesting, so she decided to think of the shadow as a giant robot attacking the village because that would make thinking about it more fun. Oh my god. Hold on. Hold on, chat. Where is it? Where is it? Yes. That's right. That definitely wasn't a shadow reflected in mist after all. The mist hadn't appeared until after the figure was already there. More than anything though, because this was a place where nothing was too strange to happen, Gensokyo. Why does it just end on that line? Okay. She has a Wildhorn Hermit profile? That's interesting. Sanae Kochiya, superficial and shallow human. What? Wow! Rude? That's so rude! The shrine maiden of the shrine that was recently built on the Yokai Mountain. It may be because she's new to Gensokyo, but she tends to show characteristics of youth. The gods worshipped at the shrine are Kanako and Suwako. Okay. And then we got 10 desires. The newbie goddess of the mountain, Sanae Kochiya, species human, ability causing miracles. The shrine maiden living in Moriya Shrine in Yokai Mountain. She is not used to yokai hunting. She wished to have human friends to keep her company, since she lives constantly surrounded by gods and yokai. But most of the humans living around the foot of the mountain are yokai like humans. The thought of becoming like one of them eventually is somewhat disconcerting to her. As may be expected of a living god, she is as strong as a yokai, but she's also somewhat of an airhead. Divine spirits are very important spirits for a shrine. She thinks that in order to stir up the faith among humans, it's imperative that she must collect the spirits. I didn't know Sanae wanted friends. Does Sanae not have friends? Hold on. I gotta check her relationship tab. Relationships. Reimu. Sanae appears to be friendly with Reimu. Yeah, they're friends. Sanae and Reimu are friends. Source, I made it up. Now draw them enjoying each other's company. Mountain dwelling, living god of miracles. Sanae Kochiya. Species, human. Ability causing miracles. The shrine maiden living on the shrine of the mountain. Not even calling it Moriya Shrine anymore, huh? She realized that there was some kind of incident occurring on the Yokai Mountain. However, perhaps because the yokai hadn't noticed anything yet, nobody reacted to what was going on. Feeling a sense of unease, she went to consult with Reimu. Unconnected Marketeers. Miraculous living god. Sanae Kochiya, you know the drill. The card merchant's activity was centered around the Yokai Mountain. One could theorize that the card's manufacturer was somewhere nearby, no? Given their position on the mountain, the Moriya Shrine can't turn a blind eye to this. If they left the situation alone, they thought that the Hatate Shrine would get ahead of them again. What do you mean again? Rainbow's never had the jump on you. Alright, so honestly, the other Omakes aside, they're not bad. They're okay. But pretty much everything you want from Sanae, Omake text-wise, is right in her Mountain of Faith profile. It explains her personality. It explains her upbringing to a certain extent. It explains what happened in the outside world to have Kanako bring the Moriya Shrine over. It even goes as far, albeit very, very slightly, to mention Sanae's, what Sanae felt towards these actions. But again, it's very, very, very slight. It's the slightest thing, and it's all you're really gonna get. But it's better than nothing, right? But it effectively illustrates the plot and build up to Mountain of Fate's events. And the rest of it's fine. It describes her personality, her worries, how she got into yokai extermination. So there's a decent amount there for Sanae. She's a popular character. She's a pretty popular character, that Green Reimu. Although I've heard that Sanae caused some controversy at some point because she kept showing up in games and people got mad at her for taking a character slot. Now, I don't know how true that is because I wasn't around in the early days, But I think it's funny because these are the same. Look at this. These are the same things I've heard about Smash characters forever. Look at how fucking adorable that Sanae is in the sailor suit on the UFO. It's Alfie's promotional artwork. That's great. Oh. Okay. Sanae's... I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't like, I just don't really like any of Sanae art. At all. Her Mountain of Faith art is, her Undefined and Fantastic Object art is kind of goofy looking. Her 10 Desires art is probably the best, and then she gets a haircut in LOL K. And Unconnected Marketeers. She gets shorter hair. She's more Rainbow-esque in that sense. I think her best art is probably from 10 Desires. But I also think her sprite. I think her sprite in 12.3 is not good either. So Sanae's design is fine, but I just feel like she's probably got the, in terms of official art, I think she might have the shortest end of the stick of any other character, especially one so prominent, Okay. Rainbow keeps taking her character slot. People got salty because she became the next Sakuya. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard that people were upset because she stole Sakuya's role as a character, which is funny. But no, I hear that argument a lot with Smash Brothers. How, in Smash 4, you can place Dark Pit, Lucina, and Dr. Mario. People are upset because apparently having the clone characters in that game took away from other characters being in the game, which is not how that works at all. Completely ignoring the fact that those characters are clone characters, so their movesets are effectively the exact same, as well as their character statistics, with very, very slight differences. Lucina's entire kit is exactly the same, animation-wise, frame data-wise, everything, to Marth. It's just missing the tipper mechanic. Dr. Mario's moveset is more like his melee one. He's got some differences to Mario, at least, which is pretty cool. And Dark Pit has one difference in side B, but again, the animation is essentially the same, just change the knockback angle. So those characters can be in the game because they don't take much effort to get into the game, because they're essentially just a character reskin. They didn't steal anyone's spot. That's dumb. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Oh, man, speaking of art I don't like, Mountain of Faith Kanako. Man, speaking of characters I don't like, Kanako. Why does Kanako have a Subterranean Animism Omake text? That's weird. Also, these are fucking huge. Well, comparatively to others. Here we are. Stage 6 boss, the avatar of mountains and lakes, Kanako Yasaka. Species God. Ability creating the heavenliness, the Kion. Yeah, so she's an earth, not an earth goddess. Suwako controls the earth. But Kanako is she's a sky goddess, right? She changed her role when she came to Gensokyo, so now she manipulates the heavens, which is sky, which is I guess Kion. Because Suwako controls the earth, which is Kun. And of course there's the fact that the Sanae is a wind priestess and her god is a wind goddess, you know? Anyway, the goddess who, together with her shrine, recently moved to the Yokai Mountain. Because of her name Yasaka, which means countless hills, she has been called a god of the mountains, but in reality she is a god of the wind and rain. As such, she has been worshipped as a god of agriculture. Okay, well so she's a god of, so a god of wind and rain, so heavenliness, the sky. But she's the god of the mountain now as well, because she's the god on top of the mountain. Well, that's more Suwako's jurisdiction. But the thing we know about the Moriya Shrine is that Suwako exists. Suwako is a part of it. And she does do her own thing, but Kanako is the face of the shrine. She's the one doing all the business deals and whatnot, you know? Thank you, Linaxis, for the resub. Thank you. Where am I? The particulars of how she came to be worshipped as a god of the mountain are highly complicated. Only Kanako and Suwako know the truth of the matter. Kanako's trademark, Shimenawa rope, represents a coiling snake. The snake's continual cycle of molting represents resurrection, rebirth, and eternity. It's Ouroboros, baby. However, as humans have come to grips with their mortality, they have come to no longer believe in eternity. In agriculture, too, have they gained the means to defy the wind and the rain. They learned that mountains were created from volcanoes and changes in the Earth's crust. They became able to cross mountains easily and without danger. So remember, gods and yokai all came to be as explanations for things that could not be explained. But as humanity evolved, they started developing common sense and also understanding towards how things came to be, how things work. I think the best example of that is with tiger yokai. Tiger yokai were a type of yokai that existed way back when, because they'd heard stories of the animal, the tiger, but they'd never seen one. So the tiger's reputation became that of an animal of equal standing to that of a dragon, a fucking dragon. So tiger yokai existed, but when eventually Japan finally, saw tigers and knew what tigers were, there was no longer, a belief in tiger yokai because they now knew what tigers were. The only tiger yokai that probably exists anymore is Sho because of her nature as a disciple of a god. But that's something that I think is neat. Another one is Kyoko, for example. Kyoko is a Yamabiko. She's a mountain echo. However, as times progress, people just learned that how sound waves work with echoes, right? But even in Gensokyo, her existence is in jeopardy because people just assume that it's not her shouting back, it's just the echoing, the reverbing in the mountain. So she came down from the mountain to the Moriya Shrine to make people aware that, she is alive and exists. I think it's funny how Aki messes with her a little bit. But yeah, even in Gensokyo, her existence is threatened because how common sense is applied to what she does. She's a mountain echo. Alright, where am I? Indeed, humans have begun to believe in science and information, and their faith in gods like Kanako continue to wane. So that sentence effectively just sums up what I just said there. Humans became more aware, they started to learn more. Common sense, science, information. They learned how to explain the unexplainable. And as common sense grew, the yokai's lives were in jeopardy. Kanako searched for a way to regain faith and she came up with a big gamble, and that was to make the shrine into a thing of fantasy in the world of humans and collect faith in Gensokyo. Although it would mean that she would lose all the faith she still had left currently and thus lose her power temporarily, this way held more potential. She chose a future with potential rather than the crumbling glories of the past, and so her plan seemed to be successful. The shrine was accepted into Gensokyo more smoothly than she had expected, and she quickly began to be worshipped as the deity of the Yokai Mountain. Although she had her doubts now and again at the excessive smoothness, once she saw how Gensokyo worked, she believed she understood why things went so well. In Gensokyo, there was a shrine called the Hatate Shrine. Although that shrine had almost completely lost all of its faith, it was popular with yokai, and it was said that it was always some yokai frequenting it. For the yokai, the shrine seemed to have become a suitable playground. Along with becoming an object of worship, Kanako was also accepted as a playmate of the yokai. Feasts were held almost every night. Actually, to play together was what the gods wished for. Festivals were venues for humans and gods to play together. By forgetting about everyday life and coming together to play, gods and humans gained the feeling of solidarity within a community. Even if the humans were exchanged for yokai, it was the same. This was exactly the kind of faith Kanako was wishing for. However, the knowledge Kanako held of Gensokyo was limited. She didn't know that among the yokai of Gensokyo, there existed a number of powers. Nevertheless, she collected the faith of the mountain yokai and attained great divine virtue. She did not realize that this meant that the power of the mountain yokai, in other words, the Tengu and the Kappa, were becoming too great. With that, there was the fear that the power balance of tranquil Gensokyo would collapse. Kanako thought that to keep Gensokyo's balance, she must acquire the faith of the yokai and humans beneath the mountain. To achieve that, she must utilize the Hatate Shrine, else things won't proceed smoothly. Much remained before she would be able to regain the same amount of faith she had in the outside world. So there you go. So, yeah. Kanako, as we know, Kanako is that character who tends to be at the center of every single, not the center, but she tends to be the one that orchestrates the events to go a certain way, but she never actually, like, reveals herself. So, Kanako ends up, you know, coexisting with the mountain, but there's an issue is brewing, so she needs to extend her reach outside the mountain. And she utilizes the Hatate Shrine to do so. So she tells, I don't know if she tells Sanae or like hints at Sanae or whatever, but either way, Sanae goes down to the Hatate Shrine, you know, looks at Reimu, laughs, spits on the ground, and leaves, and Reimu gets absolutely fucking pissed, right? So then Reimu leaves, heads up the mountain. Reimu ends up meeting Kanako. And once these two finally engage, as Kanako's plan, they have a reason to meet each other and talk. Kanako ends up working out a deal with Reimu, and she sets up a branch shrine at the Moriya shrine at the Hatate Shrine. So now her shrine has extended beyond the mountain in the form of the branch shrine. And as we know, it's really hard for humans to get up to the Moriya shrine anyway, because one, it's at the top of the Yokai Mountain, so it's obviously not easily traversed. And two, the Tengu specifically were very annoying for humans who were trying to go to the shrine, because they were so afraid of humans going off of the beaten path that they were just like, you know, an intimidating factor. If humans did not travel up the designated path to the mountain, then, you know, but they would get the Tengu will be looking for that. But the Tengu are also incredibly like paranoid. So they pretty much hate anyone going anywhere near the mountain at all, even if they're on the right path. Now, as we know, Kanako eventually worked out a deal with the Tengu and the Kappa to build a cable car that connects the bottom of the mountain to the shrine itself, which caused a massive influx of followers. And also, as we know, Sanae visits the human village regularly to preach for her shrine as well. So, Kanako has a lot of ideas. I don't really like the character because I don't like how she's a character who's supposed to be involved with so much goings on. She's clearly got a head on her shoulders and she's always thinking about her next move, but she never steps out from behind the curtain ever. So it's always just like, oh, Kanako's involved, okay, and then she's not actually in the game. Case in point, Subterranean Animism's entire plot is caused by Kanako. But Kanako doesn't show up in that game in any capacity. Even when Kanako shows up in 17.5, I don't feel like it did anything for her character. I feel like there's not enough to her character that's shown at face value, but there's so much about her character that's implied with her scheming nature that I supposed to know, but because they never really, like, put her at the front lines while doing it, it's always just, like, her name gets thrown out there. Like, look at Yukari as well. Yukari is sort of similar, but I think that Yukari shows up way more often whenever she's doing her bullshit, you know? Every character has their bullshit, but Kanako never really shows up and, you know, pulls a fucking Dio where it's like, it was me, my bullshit, I did it, I took the boots, they're here under the floorboards. You know, Kanako just always shows up as like a name in the credits, like, I did this. Game developer, Kanako, me, smiley face, but Kanako herself like never shows up anywhere. She's just in the credits as being like the brainchild behind the whole scheme. Alright. But that was a lot of lore. But she does have Subterranean text, if you can believe it. So this is gonna actually cut in exactly what I was talking about, how she is the reason Subterranean Animism happened. I did not know she had Omake text for SA because she's not in the game. You know who is in the game? Sanae. Sanae is the extra stage mid-boss. She's in the game. The extra stage takes place at the Moriya Shrine because the Moriya Shrine had to do with the whole events of the game. I had no idea that Kanako had a fucking Subterranean Animism Omake text. So here we go. The troublesome mysterious gods, Kanako Yasaka and Suwako Moriya. So this is actually for both of them. They are the gods that recently moved their shrine to the top of the Yokai Mountain. They are the start of this story. The Kappa's Energy Revolution. The plan by this name was safely concluded, its first phase, and is on its way towards practical implementation. The plan involved using the now dormant Blazing Hell as a super high temperature furnace in an attempt to tame a power that is said to the outside world wouldn't attain for hundreds of years. Nuclear fusion energy. The first step was to find an exemplary Hell Raven, then to bestow upon it the personification of the sun, the Yaragarasu. Then to rekindle the flame of the remains of burning hell, a blazing hell. Then to tame the crow. The geyser was proof of the plan's success. Unlike fission energy, fusion reactions are less likely to go out of control. In addition, it doesn't create such lethal waste. So because it is very safe and produces massive amounts of energy, it is almost dreamlike energy production method. Kanako seems to treat this as just one part of the shrine's operations. Because they didn't feel the plan was dangerous, the above-ground yokai did nothing to stop it even once they found out the truth. However, Reimu was made to go underground, confronted them and said angrily, "Next time, tell everyone about it before you start." So there you go. Thank you for the raid, Christian. So yeah, that's the plot. I've mentioned this a few times, but the plot of SA is that Kanako ends up, you know, Kanako wants to make a nuclear reactor. So that's her plan. I just read out her step-by-step plan. She ends up finding Utsuho, who she deems a perfect candidate to take on the powers of the Yaragarasu, and she does. But I guess it's a little. She goes a little bit crazy with power, just a little bit. So Utsuho gets a little bit, you know, she does get a little bit hot under the collar, I suppose. And Orin is like, uh-oh. And Orin needs to, like, Orin needs to alert someone that something bad is happening. So she fires up earth spirits from the geyser, and it gets the attention of the yokai, like, well, that's not good. We should probably check out what that's about. So it was kind of like a call for help. Also something interesting, Kanako has never actually interacted with Satori, if you can believe it. Kanako went down to the blazing hell, found Utsuho, gave her the gave her the Yaragarasu, all without consulting Satori about it at all. Satori did not have any say in this. Kanako just went and did it herself because, well, that's what she does. So I'm actually gonna put Kanako all the way up at top. You know, I'm not gonna be biased. As you know, she's not my favorite character. I'd say she's far from my favorite character. But that was a lot of information that I think is very interesting. And this is the kind of stuff I want to see for this character because I genuinely believe that Kanako is a character who does not get enough. She does not get to appear enough despite how important and imperative she is to some events in the actual series. Like, Suwako is Suwako is infinitely more popular than Kanako, and Suwako shows up even less. But the thing about Suwako is she's got a funny hat. She's in Hiso Tensoku, and she's frog. She's frog girl. She goes kero kero. You know, like there's a lot of things about Suwako that are just like hitting all the proper check marks. But she's also a character who barely shows up. But she's infinitely more popular than Kanako. And then of course we have what's her name? We have Sanae as well. So Kanako always just kind of gets left out. You know what I mean? What is this? Hold on, chat. Suwako on A&T roof. Literally no images for this, huh? See more anyway. Well, where is it? Hold on. Inaba of the moon. Inaba of the earth. Suwako. Suwako. Where is it? There. Found it. I found it. I found it. I found it. Okay. That's my favorite image. Okay. So she has the exact same Omake for Subterranean Animism. Wow, that's a big one. Okay. Alright. That's my favorite panel in the entirety of Inaba the moon, Inaba the earth. Where Raisen just turns around and sees her hanging out on the rooftop, and Tei's like, hey, she's causing it, you should go kick her ass. And Raisen's like, alright, I'm gonna go kick her ass. And then Raisen gets her ass kicked. It's so cute. Look at her. Holy shit. The more I look at her, the more I smile. Extra boss of the highest of native gods, Suwako Moriya, species god, ability creating earth. The true god of the shrine of Moriya, she is the god of the mountains and was once the leader of the many gods that lived in the mountains. During ancient times, she was a god in control of the Mishaguji. Mishaguji was cursed gods who had obtained enormous amounts of faith, cursing birth, harvest, military, and many other things. Making light of these fearsome gods would lead to divine punishment. The only one able to tame these gods was Suwako. Because of this, she gained an extraordinary amount of faith and cultivated a kingdom as its ruler while still being a god. However, many other gods of Yamato, ancient Japan, invaded her kingdom. One of those gods was Kanako. The many gods of Yamato continually conquered the small kingdoms for themselves. They said that ultimately they would unify all countries and create a single country called Japan. Now, here's something interesting about this. So, as you know, the whole Moriya bit is based on the Suwa Shrine, and Kanako is based on the god Take Minagatana, who I believe the story goes something as follows. He challenged somebody to a duel. I forget who it was. He challenged somebody to a duel. He won, but he was still like, you know, he was still like betrayed for his victory. So he fled. He fled and ended up in the Suwa province, where he ran into the local god of the Suwa god. And the story goes a few different ways, apparently. So one interpretation is, you know, he fights the god who lives there and takes over their shrine as his own. It's a less flattering one. There's one that puts Take Minagatana up as kind of an asshole and not well liked by Suwa. And then there's one that it's more of a cooperative nature, where he ended up like just taking shelter at that god's domain and became a part of it. So you can look at Suwa stuff. Mount of Faith actually, I was told it sparked some tourism interest in Suwa province for when Mount of Faith came out, which is really cool to see. people who are interested in that kind of lore. But I read a few things. I read a few things myself, different things like traditions and stuff that happened there. And of course, as I said, there are a few different interpretations of Takemita Katana's story. So in the case of Touhou, I believe like Kanako shows up, invades, but Kanako, I don't know where she came from or why she came, but she could not remove Suwako from the shrine. She could not kill Suwako and like take over the shrine because all the faith that Suwako had gathered was not hers, so she would just disappear. So Suwako had to remain alive for Kanako to even benefit from this exchange. So they ended up forming a mutual agreement of sorts after Kanako defeated her in battle. How long ago this was, I have no idea. The Suwa Grand Shrine's official version opposes Takemita Katana and the Outlaw Moriya, I think. Okay, because I'm just saying, there's a few different interpretations, and I'm sure the one that makes it seem like the god is not, you know, a bastard hanging out at the shrine is probably in the best interest. You wouldn't want to parade your main like story to be like, yeah, the guy who lives here is an asshat, but we worship him anyway. You know, that seems like a bad idea. Now I remember reading something. I think it was in Strange Creators. They have a few sections that are based on like the mythos and folklore that Touhou is inspired from. And there was an entry that was based on Suwa stuff. And I seem to recall that there was at one point there was a tradition that was done early on, like early on, where I guess they nailed frogs to not trees. I think it was it was either trees or ombashiras, but they would just take frogs and nail them on things as like tradition. And you know, since then that's obviously been removed. Yeah, frog stapler. God is coming. God was here the whole time. But yeah, that practice was ultimately ruled animal cruelty, and it's no longer being practiced, of course. But that is the one association that the Suwa province has with frogs. So it makes me wonder if maybe that's partially why there's a frog motif to Suwako. But it's kind of morbid, you know? It's just people fucking playing frog stapler. In 5 days, God is coming. Okay, I got sidetracked again. But yeah, no, a lot of the aesthetics of Kanako and Suwako are pretty based off of different Suwa mythos, which is really cool. You know, if you have time and you're interested, I recommend looking it up. You can probably find it in Strange Creators. It's just a bunch of lore on Suwa province. That's where I learned most of it, but as you can tell, I'm kind of hazy on the details, so I might be misinterpreting a few things, or misrepresenting them, but I think the general idea is there in what I'm saying. The frog hunting ritual. Okay, I'm not crazy then. Where am I? Naturally, Suwako resisted and fought with the finest iron weapons of the time. However, Kanako held out a thin vine, and Suwako's large iron arsenal instantly rusted. Suwako realized the difference in their divine powers, and her defeat, she valiantly forfeited and relinquished her kingdom. By the way, according to Aya or Hatate, one of the two, Suwako's iron rings are quite sharp, so they're pretty lethal weapons. The frog hunting ritual, Kawazugari Shinji, held every New Year's Day, involved the shooting, or rather piercing, of frogs captured from the sacred river or stream within the Kamishiya precincts with miniature arrows. This is based on Takemita Katana related practice and rituals. And yeah, obviously that ritual, that is no longer practiced because it is animal cruelty. To pick up frogs that aren't red toads, you can't lick them. Lick the red frog. You can't be doing that. Suwako uses iron rings as weapons. It's one of her spell cards as well. But apparently they're quite sharp. So she has cool weapons like that. Where am I? And so Kanako attained the kingdom of Moriya. However, the people of Moriya could not forget the fear of their native gods, Mishakuji, and were unable to accept their new god. Kanako thought she could not gain the faith of the people and gave up on making the kingdom hers. Instead, she called forth a new god and combined it with the Moriya's god. Within the kingdom, this new god was called Moriya, but was called by a different name outside of the kingdom. This way, it seemed as if it would seem as if it was ruling the kingdom. Moriya is, of course, Moriya, and thus Kanako borrowed Suwako's powers and silently ruled as the god of mountains. So there you go. That's the explanation as why they're still together. Kanako could not just take over. Kanako couldn't just take over the shrine from Suwako because she wouldn't be able to gain faith. So she hatched a scheme in which she would still benefit, but in a way that, you know, silently ruled as the god of mountains. So I feel like, in this sense, Suwako is still the face of the shrine, whereas Kanako is playing the back role. But those roles have reversed in Gensokyo now. Remember, these characters are old. The new god that was said to have reigned in over the kingdom was a god only in name, existing only to preserve the legend of Yamato. In reality, Suwako continued to rule over the kingdom. Although the gods of the modern world have mostly been replaced by Yamato legends, she is still in her original form, discreetly gathering faith. So, that implies that Suwako has been around for a very long time. She's been around for a very long time, as we know. How long is unclear. She's old, though. She's an old lady. Is she older than Eden, though? I don't know. However, the faith she had gathered throughout the eras is slowly fading with the introduction of the era of science. Suwako didn't mind so much, but Kanako panicked and moved the whole shrine against Gensokyo. You hear that? Suwako is very chill. Suwako didn't know how well she could get by in Gensokyo, but she decided to enjoy it as her final amusement. Final amusement. Oh. The reason she didn't argue with Kanako for deserting the kingdom and coming to Gensokyo is because she had no regrets left in the outer world. There were few people that knew her name. Jesus, okay. It sounds like Suwako was resigned to her fate, huh? That's kind of depressing. She sounds ready to go. Damn. After all, even the closest humans to Suwako, Sanae, doesn't know much about her. Sanae is currently Kanako's shrine maiden, but the reason she can create miracles is because she is Suwako's distant descendant. Despite this, she does not seem to understand why there are two gods within her own shrine. Okay, so this is something that I actually didn't know for a long time. But yes, Sanae is a descendant of Suwako. So canonically, Suwako fucks. If that's what you wanted to know, that's what you wanted to hear me say. But it seems like, according to this sentence, despite this, she doesn't seem to understand why there are two gods in her shrine. Does Sanae know that she is a descendant? I don't believe Sanae knows she's a descendant of Suwako, based on this information, but I can't say for sure. Sanae serves Kanako and Suwako, both gods. She just accepts that there are two gods in her shrine in any capacity. But Sanae doesn't know much about Suwako, and Sanae doesn't understand why there are two gods in her own shrine. So odds are there's a lot of information that Sanae is currently lacking, you know? Suwako didn't care whether or not she was fated to be forgotten anymore. She's actually thankful to Kanako, as it seems she'll be able to enjoy a second life in Gensokyo. Yeah. Listen to that. So, Suwako is... Wow. I don't know, I just, like, you know... Just... You know? Like, this is the face... This is the face of resigned fate? That's it. It's over for her. She's done. That's the face of, well, I had a good run. Where am I? Now Kanako is the god of wind, but why is a snake pattern rope her trademark? There are two reasons. The first is because the snake symbolizes reincarnation, and what it was to oppose the fear of the Mishaguji. And the second reason is because she wanted to casually stress the fact that she won against Suwako. Why, you ask? Suwako is a god that takes the form of a frog, and snakes eat frogs. Rituals of the new kingdom included sacrificing frogs to state that the snake now rules the kingdom in place of the frog. See what we just talked about earlier with the frog ritual. This is one reason why Suwako and Kanako argue a lot. They share common interests and are actually very good friends. Wow. Okay, so the reason why Kanako chose a snake to represent her is because it's to flex on Suwako that she won their fight all those years ago. Kanako, that's fucking petty. Eren is based off of Omoi no Kane, the brain in the moon. In Touhou lore, she was one of Tsukiyomi's advisors, older than Tsukiyomi, mind you, when Tsukiyomi decided to leave Earth because it was impure, and he left to the moon with a few of his trusted, some of his trusted officers. So Eren went to colonize the moon with Tsukiyomi while Eren was older than Tsukiyomi. So that's just the thing, like that. She's real old, right? But I don't really know for sure who's the oldest character because there's no official ages or anything like that, right? The sort of pettiness is definitely from Friends. You're right, but I think that's funny as fuck. God, look at her. How could you say no to that smile? What would this world do without you? All right. Now, very obviously, Suwako's going up top. Got some sick lore. I had no idea that Suwako was so resigned to her fate. I did not realize she was so ready to go. I guess that actually explains a lot as to why she doesn't really prefer to like ever. You know, she doesn't ever really prefer to come out into the limelight. She lets Kanako handle pretty much everything because Suwako is at the point in her life where she's had a good run and she's okay to go. She has no more regrets. So now she's just enjoying whatever left of her life in Gensokyo. So that's, I don't know if I can call that sad, but that's definitely not what I expected from that character. But it just goes to show how much information I don't have on certain characters because it's located in weird places. I like Suwako a lot for various reasons, but I think I just found something that I like more about her now as a result. You know? I don't know why I feel this strongly about this, you know? Like, you ever just encounter something with a character that really makes you like, it just puts them in your mind? It puts them in the back of your mind, and then they're at the front of your mind, and you can't stop thinking about them. That's me right now with this character. I'm just thinking about like how she acts, how she feels, what she does, how she spends her life, the rest of her life, the absolute contrast. I've always pegged Suwako as a character who just didn't show up much for various reasons, and Kanako is always the face of everything. I just saw her as cute frog girl. But there's definitely more to her now that I appreciate, that I see, that it's kind of making me like her a lot, like right now. This is probably gonna affect my sorter. Speaking of my sorter, chat, I really need a drink of water, so I'll be right back. Alright. I'm back. My throat's just a bit parched. That's all. I did manage to do my laundry, so that's good. So I don't have anything to do tomorrow. One moment. Okay. Alright, next is Iku, by the way. Moving on. The beautiful scarlet cloth, Iku Nagae. Species, yokai. She's an oarfish. A yokai that lives between the world of dragons and the world of humans. Sometimes humans find traces or dead bodies of her kind, but very rarely do they show their living form to humans. It is said that they can understand a dragon's words, and only the important words are relayed to humans and yokai. The edges of their long veils radiated scarlet color are indescribably beautiful. Rumor says that if a human wears this veil, they will be able to fly through the sky. Location inside clouds. She spends most of her time swimming through clouds, doing nothing in particular. She observes the dragon god as she swims elegantly through clouds. Thus, she causes almost no harm to humans. Ability to read the atmosphere. She can read the mood of a place and adapt to it right away. She doesn't try to break the mood unless there's a very urgent reason. Flexibility is stronger than stiffness. When necessary, she vanishes completely and parries any attack. Personality. Never takes the lead role. Lazy. She's always laid back and has no interest in others' behavior. She almost never insists on her own opinion and mostly watches what others do. This is the first time I've ever heard Iku described as a lazy character, but this is official lore. I've never seen her as lazy. I've never viewed her as lazy, but the other points in here make enough sense to her. She's pretty much only shows up to warn people of an oncoming earthquake, but she doesn't really care about anything else. You know, she doesn't take much interest in others' behavior. She doesn't take much interest in other individuals in general. Like, she's basically forced to watch over Tenshi because she serves her father, but she's not exactly fond of Tenshi. In fact, she actively encourages characters to reprimand her well for her behavior. I don't know much about Iku. She's not a character who gets a lot. She's decently popular despite this. But as a fighting game character who debut with another fighting game character, that being Tenshi, of course, it's hard to stand out. I don't know if lazy is the best descriptor, but never taking the lead role makes sense. Because she's an observer, right? She's an observer, and her job in the game was only to warn the denizens of Gensokyo of an oncoming earthquake. It wasn't like she was trying to stop it or anything. She was just kind of doing her duty. So she didn't actively try to do much else, but everybody wants to fight her anyway. She's not Tenshi's babysitter, but she's supposed to watch over Tenshi because, again, as I said, she works for her father. So, but Tenshi doesn't even remember Iku's name. She just refers to her as annoying. But those two get paired up a lot for various reasons. So here's something fun about them. So as you know, the celestial raiment that Iku carries, there's old folklore with that. It was actually mentioned in Aya's article in, which one is it? I don't remember which one it was, because I'm pretty sure Bohemian Archive came out before. Yeah, it did. Oh, it was Symposium and Post-Mysticism. Okay. That makes the most sense. But there was an article... Oh, what the fuck? Chat, I didn't know this. There's actually Zen art of Iku. Look at this. Look at this. I did not know this. There's actually there's Zen art of Iku. This is Zen's Iku. Obviously pretty accurate. Who's that on the side page there next to her though? What was I saying? So in Symposium and Post-Mysticism, Aya runs an article about the celestial raiments that they carry. Now, the celestial raiments are dropped by heavenly, celestials. They're dropped onto Earth. And the thing is, according to, mythos, if a celestial loses their raiment on Earth and a human picks it up, the celestial is then forced to marry the person who picked it up. And spend the rest of their lives with them. Which, that's a sweet deal. However, according to Aya, some of the younger, more, I don't know the best word to describe it. Hip trend chasers, I suppose. some Celestials will willingly drop their raiments in like the human world and come down and observe who picks them up. You know, they're basically hot guy fishing. So if they find somebody who they like who picks it up, they're like, oh no, now I have to marry you. Oh, woe is me. But if someone they don't like picks it up, they just steal it back from them, and then they return to heaven and try again. They're literally catfishing. Well, I guess they're ore fishing. That's funny as fuck. I'm fairly certain that Iku works. Let me see. I'm fairly certain the reason Iku is even interested at all in this is because of Iku comments to Tenshi she's supposed to file a report for warning about the earthquake because the Hinanawi clan were away from their homes. It implies one of her duties is to file reports to the Hinanawi clan when an earthquake is about to occur. However, it doesn't mean she's subservient to Tenshi's clan, just her job requires interacting with them. Okay, so it's not necessarily that she works for the boss man, but her job still does require them to interact in some capacity. Shows in her ending that she saw how spoiled and reckless the eldest child Tenshi was and was never happy about it. Her wing quote to Tenshi implies that Iku often complained to Tenshi about how mad her father was whenever Iku reported him. To Tenshi, however, Iku was just a messenger. Tenshi's unauthorized use of the keystone finally caused Iku to take action and punish Tenshi, and for Tenshi to learn Iku's name. Although having no authority over a member of the Hinanawi meant all Iku could do in the long term was complain about it. So there you go. So she doesn't necessarily work for Boss Baby, but her job does require consulting with them to a wide enough degree that they have like there's a bit of a relationship there, you know. So there's that. That's neat. All right. So where would I put that for? Why would I put that for her? Honestly, I put that under sick character lore. So here's why. So we learn about the only thing we learned about universe lore is that sometimes humans find traces or dead bodies, which is fucking weird. But they don't show their human their forms to much else. They can understand a dragon's words and only impart the important words to humans and yokai. Their veil. Well, I'd say it's probably more here. I actually put it more here. So there's a little bit in her personality. There, you know, she spends most of her time in the clouds. She's easy. She's not. I wouldn't call her easygoing, but she's not particularly engaged in a lot of different things. We learn she's lazy. Effectively, yes. I don't know. There's a decent amount of things to her character there, but none of what I would consider like crazy character lore. Even to that extent, maybe not even so much cool universe lore. Nah, you know what? I'm gonna put it up here because I learned something new about the character. I'm putting it up here. I'm gonna put it up here because I learned something new about the character in both instances. I never considered her lazy though. The phrase is translated as lazy in the dictionary suggests that it means person who tends to find things bothersome. Personally, it interpreted as someone who doesn't go out of the way to get involved in things as opposed to someone who doesn't do their job. Well, that makes sense because immediately after it says she's always laid back and has no interest in others. She almost never insists on her own opinion and mostly watches what others do. So she's lazy in the sense that she just kind of goes with the flow. She doesn't try to interrupt things. She doesn't even try to express her own opinions on things. She simply does what she has to do, and then she's done. Nonchalant, that might be a good word for that. Either way, she's an elegant lady who's also kind of aloof, I suppose. I don't know if you can necessarily call her aloof, though. She's very, very good at reading the mood. That's the crazy thing. She's incredibly good at reading the mood, but she actively just, like, you know... She's kind of a... I guess you could say she's pretty pleasing to work with because she's always pleasant. She's kind of ideal in that sense. She really just kind of goes with the flow, swimming with the clouds. Nothing in particular. She observes the dragon god. She swims elegantly through the clouds, thus she causes almost no harm to humans. Neat. And then we have... Yeah, here she is. Tenshi. I enjoy Tenshi. Okay. We got 2 in here. That's big. Holy shit, that's big. Alright, Tenko. The girl of the spear of neither perception nor non-perception. That's situated. What does that mean? Hiso hihi ten. Naiva so. Oh my god. Oh, what is that word? Chat, look at this word. Look at this word. Look at that word. Can you really blame me for not being able to pronounce that? I don't know how to pronounce that. It's apparently is the highest plane of the Buddhist heaven. It's shortened to Hisoten and is also known as Uchoten or Bahavagra. Now, I'm sure you recognize those words. Uchoten is the name Ushoten Dreamers, which is Shimura Bansho's Tenshi song, and Bahavagra, which is used quite a few different times as also in the themes, like Children of Bahavagra is Tenshi's theme. Text to speech it? That's a good idea. Hold on. Text to speech. Free text to speech. Drag and drop your files. No, where's the TDS reader? Play a random interesting article. No. How do I do this? Text to speech? Isn't there something I can just like try it free? Bro. I'm not giving you my phone number. What would you like your vocalizer to say? I want to say this. I'm not a robot. Okay, here we go, chat. Here we go. Play. Sorry, could you repeat that? Everybody understand? Did everybody get that? Did everybody get that? This is why we call it Hisoten or Bahavagra. Or I guess Uchoten as well. There's 3 different names for it. 3 different names for it. Simplified. Thank God they simplified it. Holy shit. What a word. Alright, Tenshi Hinanawi. I cannot possibly hope to say that word. So, cool little fact. You know, I'm... Just in case you didn't know, if you wonder why I pronounce her name the way I do, the W in Tenshi's name is basically silent. It's not like a character anymore, I guess. It's the same with Tei. So, Tei, her name is T-E-W-I, but you don't pronounce the W, so you just pronounce it Tei. That's why Tenshi is Hinanawi, so you spell it, basically you pronounce it as if the W is not there. You know what's funny? I didn't know that for a long time, so I used to call them Tui, and Hinanawi. And you know what? Those are kind of cute. I like those names. Tei is fun to say, and Hinanawi it rolls off the tongue better, but I like Tui. I like calling her Tui. Tui and Hinanawi. Well, to be fair, how would anyone who isn't familiar with the Japanese language understand that W is supposed to be silent, right? Silent letters are bullshit. Never assume a letter is silent until you actually are told otherwise. I think either way saying it is fine. But you know, I say characters' names incorrect because I think they're funny or nice. Like, I call Nue New. I call, well, I call Chirno Chirbo a lot, but that's just because, I don't know. I think it sounds funny. Also, I call Joan Jun. Yes, I know. I do know how to pronounce her name. I do know how to pronounce her name. I just prefer to call her Jun. Kane. Kane is just like... Even when you try to put emphasis on the E, it just sounds like Kane anyway with an English speaker, so I just don't even bother most of the time. And I like to call Rumia Ruma. I call her the name without the I. Ruma. I think that's cute. Not every character has a nickname, but there are a few characters that I call different names because I think they're cute. I like calling Momiji Momiji. I like calling Aya Ayaya, but that one's a classic. Okay. Kane and Sanae are two characters that have, they're multiple syllables, but when you read them in English, you kind of just read them with -1 syllable, you know? Like, when you read Kane in English, it sounds like 1 syllable. When you read it in Japanese, it's supposed to be 2 syllables. Kane. And with Sanae, it's 3 syllables, but when you pronounce it in English, it's only 2 syllables. Sanae or Sanae. You're supposed to, the E is its own character, so it's its own pronunciation. But you don't really remember to do that unless you're really conscious of it. Isn't Kane 3 syllables in Japanese? I believe it's K-E-I and then N and E, unless N and E are together. Because sometimes E is alone. Sometimes E is alone. Like as I said with Sanae, it's S-A-N-A-E. Sanae. Sanae. So it's I don't know. I can't speak for Japanese because I don't speak Japanese. But Kane is definitely 2 syllables with basically emphasis on the last letter. Mike as well. Mike is weird because Mike, but we call her Michael. Her name is Mike though. K-E-ne. No, K-E-I is one syllable. So it's K. We're learning, chat. We're learning. K-ne. Yes. Remember your Japanese vowels. A, E, O, U. I remember the Japanese vowels, and it helps the pronunciation. It's weird when you remember that I's are pronounced like E's. So an I in Japanese is pronounced like an E, and an E is pronounced like an A, and an A is pronounced like ah. Like, got him, GG's. Streamer enlightened by anime. Probably. I think I did learn that from anime. Alright, where am I? I have made no headway in this at all. Yeah, EI is more like AY if you were going to compare it to, like, English. Like, if I say yay, I say yay, Y-A-Y. But if I say re, like Reimu, Re, it sounds like R-A-Y, right? But it's R-E-I. Reimu and Reimu. Reimu. But in an R's case, you kind of roll it. You kind of roll it a bit. Yeah. A-E-I-O-U. It's good to know. It actually helps because vowels are very common. So knowing how they sound can help you pick out how words how words are meant to be pronounced in their proper language. But the thing you need to know, chat, is that you will never be able to enunciate as properly as a native speaker of the language. And some people tend to forget that when they give you shit for how you pronounce things. It's really fucking annoying. I speak English. I didn't live in Japan for 25 years. If I try to pronounce Japanese words with Japanese enunciation, it's going to sound silly because I do not have the proper enunciation from 25 years of just using the language on a day-to-day basis. But some people get so pissy when you mispronounce things or you butcher pronunciations. Like, motherfucker, you ever heard a man with an accent? You talk to anybody with an accent, You don't sit there and try to like correct every single thing they say. You sit there and listen and infer what they're saying based on what you think they're saying, because they're trying really hard to speak the language to you to have a proper conversation. And you're going to sit there and correct them in the middle of the conversation every single time they say a word that you don't agree with the pronunciation with? Ha! Alright, I'm going to actually start reading now. A delinquent. Species, fallen celestial. A delinquent celestial living in the heavens, the Hinanawi clan used to be a family of priests who were tasked to protect their keystone, which kept earthquakes under control. However, even with the Hinanawi keystone, earthquakes occurred rather often. Sorry, my throat is a little rough. We're starting the Hinanawi Omake. Oh, I'm on it. They occurred so often that it went out of the hands of the Omura no Kami, a celestial who was in charge of earthquakes at the time. So the Nai clan, the Nai clan, who had been serving the Celestials, was ordered to take over the job around the Gensokyo area. So the Gensokyo is the Hinanawi family jurisdiction. The Nai clan was the family of earthbound priests, but were enshrined as divine spirits after their death in a small shrine beside a mountain lake known as Nawi no Kami. I keep reading the W now. The Nai no Kami still watches quietly over against Sokyo. Huh. So wait a minute. Hold on. That's actually interesting lore. Hold on. Let's back up for a second there. So, the family was a clan of earthbound priests that were enshrined as divine spirits after their death in a small shrine beside a mountain lake known as the Nai no Kami. But the Nai no Kami still quietly watch over against Sokyo. So they're not in Gensokyo necessarily, but they're still within the jurisdiction. Okay. At the same time, the Hinanawi clan ascended to the heavens as a reward for serving Nai no Kami where they were still alive. However, unlike other Celestials, the Hinanawis became Celestials only by serving Nai no Kami, that is, not through training, so they didn't have the reputation expected of Celestials, and some even called them bad Celestials. So yeah, if you didn't know, because of the nature of the ascension of the Hinanawi family, they're actually not treated very well by other Celestials, because they only ascended to Celestial status by serving the god that they did. That's also why Tenshi's personality is rather rotten, because she never really didn't experience the proper channels to become a Celestial. It was simply given to her because she was the daughter of the Hinanawi clan. So that's why she's a spoiled brat despite, being a Celestial. I think it's absolutely funny that Miko looks at Tenshi and is just like disgusted by her behavior as a Celestial. Where was I? Bad Celestials. When the Hinanawis became Celestials, their daughter, Chiko Hinanawi, followed them and became a Celestial as well, even though she was a young girl. You hear that, chat? Tenshi's name, Chiko. Chiko Hinanawi became Tenshi Hinanawi. Tenshi literally just means angel. Yeah. Her name was Chiko. Did you know that? Her name wasn't always Tenshi. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? I didn't know that either for the longest time. I did know this, though. I did know this. I didn't remember what her name was, but I did know at some point down the line that Tenshi had a name before she became a Celestial. Chiko, huh? It means Earth Child. Ah. Chiko renamed herself Tenshi when she moved to heaven. She gave herself her own name? Oh my god, no wonder her name is Tenshi. You absolute buffoon. You really just named yourself Angel? Oh, now it all makes sense. That's why her name is Tenshi. She fucking picked the name herself. Oh my god. She was not satisfied with how she was treated there, and often looked down on Gensokyo with jealousy towards the humans and yokai living on the ground. One day, a sudden urge hit her as she saw the yokai on land enjoying using their power to invoke disaster and cause chaos. Gee, I'm tired of this boring celestial life. I can invoke a disaster too. So then she flew from her house with the sword of Hiso, a celestial tool, in hand. I didn't know she picked her own name, but when you think about it, the fact that her name is Tenshi and she is a celestial, it makes perfect fucking sense. Absolutely perfect sense that she picked her own name with a name like that. Oh my god. Unbelievable. I can't believe this. I didn't know that. Location heaven. Ability manipulating the earth. The original Super Kami Guru. Ability to calm or cause earthquakes. Although effective area is not wide, she can cause an earthquake in a remote area as long as it does not get Gensokyo. This ability also allows her to cause disasters such as subsidence or mudslide. Also, only the Hinanawi clan is allowed to put or remove keystones in Gensokyo. It is said that upon removal of the keystones, all the ground in Gensokyo will tremble. So she can only cause earthquakes within Gensokyo, but she can also cause like mudslides and stuff, which I guess is caused just by shaking the earth under it, huh? The Sword of Hiso's ability is identifying one's spirit. The Sword of Hiso is a celestial-only item that allows the wielder to exploit the opponent's weakness, no matter what. First, the sword converts the opponent's spirit to scarlet mist, then to the form that everyone can see. As the opponent's nature has surfaced, the sword can change itself to its most effective attributes. Spirits surfaced by the sword take the form of weather. Spirits slashed by the sword become scarlet mist, then the mist changes the weather. Tenshi thinks that with her keystone and the Sword of Hiso, she can control all heaven, earth, and people. So the sword is why she can control people's temperaments, by the way. Her ability is based in the keystones and earthquakes, but because of the sword she wields, she has effectively two abilities because she never goes anywhere without it. They banished her from heaven but let her keep the sword. You know what? She probably tucked it under her in her boot or something. They probably don't even know she has it, or they don't care. But yeah, she did get banished. Then she got banned. Personality. Had a sheltered upbringing, selfish, top of the world. She's very earthly for a celestial and lacks charisma. That's not surprising, however, because she became a celestial only because the entire Hinanawi family became celestials when the Nai became divine spirits. Therefore, she lacks awareness of what it means to be a celestial. An overly privileged environment obviously had a negative effect on her playful nature. She doesn't consider what her actions mean to other people. She has absolute confidence in her abilities and gets mad if someone insults them. So, basically, Tenshi's dad, the leader of the Hinanawi clan, was having a banquet gathering or something, and the food on display was some type of mochi that was like also some kind of powerful medicine. And Tenshi ended up breaking in and eating all of them. And she didn't even think they tasted good. And her dad was so pissed that he banned her from heaven for a bit and sent her to walk among the mortals for a while. And so Tenshi acts like she's doing it of her own volition, but no, she's basically being grounded. And then Antinomy of Common Flowers. Celestial Scarlet Thought, secluded from this transient world, Tenshi Hinanawi. I'm glad that I got to meet a great partner who suits me so well. A delinquent celestial who defies common sense. Upon descending to Gensokyo for the first time in a while, she discovered an unprecedented perfect possession fad. Having found a partner suitable for her noble status, nobody on the Earth's surface could stand a chance against her. Reminders, Tenshi's partner in that game is actually Sukuna. Shimmy is her partner. An all-purpose fighter armed with the Sword of Scarlet Thought, which changes its shape to match the situation. And all-range attacks using keystones that she can control at will. And to top it off, her atmosphere-controlling urban legend, HAARP, calls forth massive storms. Okay. You're grounded. Isn't the reason she pairs up with Shimmy is because Shimmy's like a princess? So she sees Shimmy as like somebody of equal status to her. Or it's just because she has no friends. It's just because Tenshi has no friend. She has no friend. I'd be her friend. No, she'd be really hard to hang out with, though. Maybe I wouldn't be her friend. Maybe I'm lying. Anyway, that was great information to have. We learned about her family, and we learned about her temperament. See what I did there? And now we're moving on to SA. Chat's been 2 hours, and I've done 2 games. How? Wait a minute, how? How has it been 2 hours and I've only done 2 games? That doesn't even make sense. One of them was the fighting games. Huh? There's just no way. This is no way, dude. Why do I take so... How do I manage to go off on tangents for so long that I eat up 2 hours for less than 10 characters? Oh my lord. Oh my god, look at this picture. Look at this picture. This is Kasume. Holy fuck, that's terrifying. Look at that. Alright. She's a... Wow, that's a small Omake text. Look at that. She's got a very smug expression. The stage 1 mid-boss, the fearsome well spirit, Kasume Surabi Otoshi, is her species ability dropping will-o'-the-wisps. A fearsome yokai who drops straight down onto you from above when you're walking the streets late at night. She usually lives in caves or wells. She's a bashful yokai. I get it! Oh, I get it! Oh, it's so genius! Get it, chat? She's bashful, and she falls on your head and hits you over the head. Oh, it's so brilliant. Oh my god. Who likes confined spaces, so she usually spends her time inside buckets. Yeah, that's going right into the please give more characterization for the girl in the bucket, please. I don't know if that was an intentional joke or not, but I think that's kind of funny. Why is there a music note next to this? Oh, it's the pronunciation.
Kisume.
Kisume. Okay, thank you. Next is Yamame. Oh, there's another character I like pronouncing wrong. Yams, Yamame, Yamame. Yam. Stage 1 boss, the bright net in the dark cave. Oh. Where am I? Stage 1 boss, the bright net in the dark cave. Yamame Kurodane. Species, Tsuchigumo. Ability, manipulating illness, mainly infectious disease. A yokai that lives primarily in abandoned cities and deep in caves. She has no qualms about fighting humans. She has a bright, combative personality. Her power makes everyone she meets hate her. However, she herself wouldn't inflict disease on someone without reason. She's a bright, fun-loving yokai if you get to know her, so she's popular among the yokai that live underground. So, now here's the thing. I'm actually putting Yam up here, and here's why. Let me explain. So, Yamame, as we know, she manipulates illnesses. However, she does not go out of her way to do so. She actively avoids using it at all times. However, people still avoid her because they don't like that kind of thing. Yamame is also quite popular underground because she's bright, she's fun-loving, she's cheerful, and her ability to produce like silk, spider silk, web, whatever you want to call it. She produces a very sturdy string that makes her very, very good, very good for for building. So she's actually a really good construction as well. So she's quite popular. Yeah. Physical strength, building construction. So there's a lot to Yam that's never really talked about. She also likes to make candy. Source me, I made that up. I didn't make that up. I didn't make that up. That was but that is fandom. The fact that Yam makes candy is 100% fandom, and I just enjoy it. So Yam is a stage 1 boss who doesn't show up anywhere. Except 17.5, she came back. She has a few things. There's not too much to her. I think there's cool lore here. Like, you know what? I'm actually putting her down here and neat, I guess. And the reason for that is because the only thing you really learn there is that she has the ability to use poison, but she chooses not to if she can help it. And she's very fun-loving and popular. So that's neat. But a lot of the other things that make her character interesting to me are fan-based, or like part of it's just kind of missing. So I wouldn't call it like sick character lore, as it is just like, oh, that's neat. You know what I mean? It's pretty neat. I like her. Okay. Next is Parsee. Parsee. Now this is one of my not favorite characters. That's a short Omake. The stage 2 boss, the jealousy beneath the earth's crust. Parsee Mizuhashi. Species, Bridge Princess. Ability, manipulating jealousy. Once, she was the protector or guardian spirit of the pit linking the underworld with the overworld. She watched over people to make sure that they could get to the underworld and back to the overworld safely. I had no idea. However, as she is extremely jealous, she couldn't stand the people who looked like they were having fun going to and fro. Whenever she saw someone like that, she would hinder their travel somehow. Jealousy only begets further jealousy, so as she went mad from her own jealousy, she became able to fan the flames of jealousy in the hearts of others. Oh. Huh. That's interesting. So she ended up just becoming. She used to be like a toll. Not a toll. She didn't take a toll, but she was a guardian spirit that watched over a connecting area. But she became jealous of those who were enjoying themselves, and eventually that jealousy turned her mad, and she became able to manipulate jealousy. Wow. See, I enjoy Parsee in M1, but I feel like her character is a little too one-dimensional for me to really enjoy. Her character is she is jealous. That said, she has a great theme. So I'm actually going to put that up here. I'm going to put this up here because I actually think that was pretty informative. So she was once a protector of, she was once a guardian spirit, and she became jealous of others, of travelers, and eventually that jealousy overtook her, and it gained her the ability to manipulate jealousy herself. That's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. There wasn't much there, but there was more to her ability than I was expecting, as well as who she once was. Because I always just pinned her as girl who gets jealous, but there was maybe not necessarily a reason for her getting jealous, but there is at least some form of explanation as to how it got to the way it is for her. So not bad. Reminder, all of the characters from SA were designed with human hatred in mind. So we have spiders and illness. We have jealousy, Onis, mind readers, grave robbers, and nuclear energy, of course. The character reviewers thinks Satori says she's nicer than she thinks she is. That's correct. In the essay character review, Satori mentions that even though Parsee is, fueled by jealousy, she's a nicer girl than you'd expect. Also for Yugi, Satori actually mentions that Yugi is jealous of Suika's freedom above ground. So Yugi willingly stays below ground because she likes the way how might makes right in the former hell. But according to Satori, Yugi is a bit jealous of Suika's freedom topside. So that's pretty neat. You wouldn't think to get that. The biggest human fear is Koishi. Well, she is pretty scary. Fear of the unconscious. The only thing scarier than knowing everything someone's thinking is knowing nothing that they're thinking, you know? I think Koishi is a really cool character with how much of her stuff is based around psychology. I just don't really care about the character because she doesn't do anything for me. I like her sister more. Her sister's a marshmallow. Chad, I tried to get an emote of that, but I could not, we could not nail down a design for Marshmallow Satori. We tried, though. We tried. Couldn't nail it down. Stage 3 boss, the spoken of unexplainable phenomena, abnormalities, strength, disorder, and spirits. Yugi Hoshiguma. Species Oni. Ability, the ability to wield unexplainable phenomena. This is one of the weirdest abilities in the entire series because I don't think anyone understands what the fuck it means. I just don't know what it means. One of the Oni who, together with Suiko, was said to be one of the big four of the mountain. She now lives in the former capital. The former capital was once part of Hell, but it was cast aside during the downsizing of Hell. Various yokai live here, though the Oni are the most representative group among them all. The Oni left the overworld voluntarily, where humans began to shun them and build up a new society on Hell's excess plots of land. The Oni were proactive in accepting even those yokai who had become hated in the overworld. The yokai from above who felt out of place and in danger accepted their control over the underground on one condition. That condition was to seal the vengeful spirits of Hell and return the yokai from the overworld promised not to enter the underground city. The Oni have now cut off all communication with the overworld and have settled into a new society completely unknown to humans. As one would expect from an Oni, Yugi enjoys every day by drinking and raising a ruckus. When she had heard some strong humans that appeared, she rushed out while she was drunk. So, right away, no questions asked. Character lore. Not even character lore, actually. Universe lore. So here's the thing about Yugi. Yugi's Omake text just states right there that there are Oni in the former Hell. I didn't know this. I actually didn't know this. I thought that Suika and Yugi were the only Onis like left in Gensokyo. But it turns out that there is in fact Society of Oni in the former Hell, but we've never seen them. But they have their own society underground. Not every Oni left. Yugi is one of many Oni that did not leave, but Yugi is the only Oni we ever see below ground. So I thought for the longest time that she was the only Oni in the underground. So, yeah. There's not much actually in here about her herself, but it does explain a little bit about how Oni society ended up the way Oni society adapted and how the underground formed as well. So there's very little there about Yugi, but there's quite a lot about how the world around it goes, which is why she is there with the she's there with the Prism Rivers. The yokai of the underground are not liked above ground, and so they leave. And they signed basically a treaty that said as long as they don't fuck with each other. The ones top ground won't go below to bug them, and in exchange the ones below ground won't go top side to bug them. As long as they keep the spirits, the vengeful spirits in Hell. As long as they keep the vengeful spirits contained in Hell and not going topside, the yokai of the overworld, promise not to bother the underground. Because remember, vengeful spirits are quite scary to yokai because it can rewrite their entirety of who they are. So vengeful spirits are very dangerous to yokai, much more so than humans. However, vengeful spirits fear Satori. They fear her. I know there's Oni and Puppet Dance, but Puppet Dance is a fan game. I didn't know if that was Creative Liberties because they needed someone to occupy former Hell, because we don't know anything about the residents of former Hell aside from being spirits, right? I just assumed oh, there's Oni because Oni is the only race I could imagine that would be down here. I had no idea that the Oni actually did continue to live in the former capital, and it's just Yugi's the only one you ever see that's the face of it. I thought they just needed NPC trainers, so they just went with Oni. I didn't know. I had no idea. Satori Satori is the keeper of the Palace of the Earth Spirits. Are they in 17.5? No. There's no background characters necessarily in that game. The ones that are in the hot springs are like just silhouette shadows. Just because they have horns, you can't necessarily call it, but at the same time, there's like very little descriptors on them to begin with because they're just shadowy figures. Anyway, we're on the marshmallow now. Where is she? Alright. This is big. The stage 4 boss. The girl even the vengeful spirits fear. Nitori Komeiji. Race? Satori. That's right. She is a Satori named Satori. Ability? Reading minds. The master of the Palace of the Earth Spirits. The underground city was separated from Hell, but a number of uncontrollable spirits remained in the former facilities of Hell, so there was a need to control them. The Palace of the Earth Spirits is built above what was the Hells of Blazing Fire, and this is where she took up residence. Since she can read others' minds, all sorts of yokai and spirits fear her, so eventually people stopped visiting the Palace of the Earth Spirits. On the other hand, her power makes her well loved by animals that don't speak, so eventually the premises began to overflow with many pets, starting with blazing cats and hell ravens. Her great number of pets made it difficult to manage the hell of blazing fires, so she entrusted part of its management to some of her pets. Her pets would oversee other pets, her pets would tend to the gardens, her pets would play with her younger sister. However, what shouldn't have happened did. A human came from above ground, and she was surprised when they started asking about vengeful spirits in a geyser. Satori left Orin in charge of the vengeful spirits and Utsuho in charge of the Hell of Blazing Fires. They were both loyal to Satori, so they shouldn't have done any harm. She believed there was no way they'd start some sort of incident. She thought that perhaps the humans before her were spouting off lies and trying to trick her, so she read her heart and was surprised again by what she saw. There was almost nothing to be seen inside the human's mind about the vengeful spirits or the geysers. Suspicious, Satori decided to test them. Okay. Alright, well, a little bit of streamer bias there. So we learned a little bit about former Hell, the fact that the Palace of the Earth Spirits was built over the Hell of Blazing Fires, and it was up to Satori to keep maintain them. But Satori's ability to read minds turned people off from her, so people stopped visiting her. However, pets, animals loved her because animals could communicate with her because they could not normally speak. So she started taking in a lot of pets, and then she meets Reimu. A lot of pets. She has a lot of pets. She's got a whole zoo down there. Oh. The thing about Satori's ability is it doesn't work from far away, because she can't read Yukari's mind through the Yin Yang orb. So there's like a limit. So the thing is, that means you could actually have a conversation with Satori and she couldn't read your mind if you talked over like a cell phone or something, or even cans and a string, dude. Like, there is a certain distance where her mind reading stops working. So as long as you don't mind never communicating face to face, you can communicate with her without reading your mind. Next stage. Orin. Okay. Ooh, yeah, okay, so the characters who show up in stage 4, 5, and 6 tend to get bigger Omakes. Who would have thought? Stage 5 boss, Hell's Traffic Accident. Rin Kainbyo. Nickname, Orin. Species, Kasha. Ability, carrying away corpses. Her real name is Rin Kainbyo. She doesn't like long names though, so she has everyone call her Orin. A cat that lives among the flames and Satori's pet. Since she's well-spoken and can converse freely with the corpses and spirits, She was left in charge of controlling the spirits in what was once the hell of blazing fires. By the way, if you didn't know, Orin can talk the corpses. She has an old friend named Reiuji Utsuho. They've been close friends since before the time Satori began taking care of her, that is, the time when the underground separated from hell. One day, she felt the disturbance in what was left of the hell of blazing fires. The flame was much stronger than usual. Regulating the flames was Utsuho's job. Orin went to visit Utsuho and was surprised by what she found. She discovered a frighteningly strong power, or it had been given by someone else. Since then, Utsuho began to grow stronger and to seek out power. Eventually, she started talking about conquering the above ground and turning it into a scorching hell. There's no way she should be able to do that. There's no way Satori would allow it. If anybody underground found out about this plan, the Oni would probably take care of Utsuho. Amazed by the transformation her friend had undergone, Orin began to develop into a forbidden art. Oh shit, so Orin was afraid that Utsuho was going to get whacked by the Oni. That's a legitimate concern. The forbidden art was how to drive the vengeful spirits above ground. If she could force some sort of incident with the yokai above ground, something would surely change. She was trying to get the yokai above ground to help her, but what finally appeared before her was a human from above ground. That human was unexpectedly strong, and what's more, she specialized in yokai extermination. If she's really that strong, Orin thought, she might be able to deal with Utsuho. Everything would have turned out fine if Orin had just gone to Satori in the first place, but she thought it would be better if she tried to hide what Utsuho was doing. If Satori had found out about Utsuho's plan, she thought she'd waste no time dealing with Utsuho in a ruthless fashion. Of course that wasn't true, but just as children are afraid of their parents finding out their secrets, Orin was afraid of Satori finding out about hers. Orin was somewhat in awe of Satori. Well, there you go. You get a little peek into Orin's mindset at the why she took the actions that she did. Is there much in the way of universe lore there, though? I don't know. It kind of explains... I mean, I guess so. You could argue it does, because it also... Orin's Omake also doubles as the introduction to the events of the game. As it also mentions that she was friends with Utsuho before they even became Satori's pet. And this was before the underground separated from hell. And it makes sense, I guess, because Orin and Utsuho are the only pets that Satori has that have human forms, which I believe has something to do with their age, or something like that. I don't know for sure though. But all of Satori's pets are animals. But Oku and Orin are humanoid, have humanoid forms. So yeah, that's fine. There's definitely more in the way of character here than universe, but I think there's enough universe here because it's explaining, it's opening the gate to the events of Touhou 11. All right. Now to move on to her friend. Utsuho. Oku. All right. Oh man, that's big. Chat, hold on. I actually need more water. Shit. I'll be right back. Oh my god. Time. Good. Okay. I'm ready. Stage 6 boss, Scorching, Troublesome, Divine Flame. Utsuho Reiuji. Nickname, Oku. Race, Hell Raven with a Yadagarasu. Ability, Manipulating Nuclear Fusion. A crow that gives off a conspicuously colored light. On her left leg is the leg of fission. On her right leg is the leg of fusion. Finally, on her right arm is is that which controls this, the third leg. Using these 3 legs, it is said that she can control the ultimate energy. When she awoke after a long sleep, the Earth Spirit Palace stood above what was once the Hell of Blazing Fires. In this time when the underground was no longer part of Hell, criminals were no longer banished underground. And the only ones that lived underground now were the Hell Ravens. The Kochiya that carried off the bodies of the dead and various other curious yokai, as well as the evil spirits who only acted out of malice. Satori took the yokai who lived there as her own and raised them as pets. Utsuho and Rin were both Satori's pets. Rin and Utsuho both worked hard at their respective jobs. Rin at controlling the evil spirits, Utsuho at managing the former Hell of Blazing Fires. If the flames became too hot, they'd open the skylight in the courtyard. If the flames became too weak, they'd throw in more corpses Rin carried off. They regulated the flames in this manner. They lived out their lives this way, doing the same thing every day, but leading a peaceful, satisfying life. However, one day that peaceful lifestyle was shattered. Someone from above stole into hell without anyone noticing. Then she began to speak. Her voice stoked Utsuho's curiosity. The Hell of Blazing Fires hides the secret to the ultimate form of energy that humans can attain. You, crow that lives within the blaze, you should be able to contain the power within your body. We can use that to bring about the wishes of not just the underground, but above the ground as well. She was enveloped in light and felt someone entering her body. When she came to, her body had changed greatly. Utsuho enjoyed using her new power, and before she knew it, the Hell of Blazing Fires regained its original heat. That heat boiled the water in the underground, and when the steam pressure reached its limits, it boiled over to the above ground as a geyser. The one from above ground? Who was she, and what was her purpose? Utsuho quickly pushed such questions from her little head. The Yatagarasu is the divine 3-legged crow. The power that had entered her body was the god called the Yatagarasu. It is said to be a 3-legged crow that lives on the sun. The ultimate power the Yatagarasu possessed is the power to create atoms, nuclear fusion. Atomic energy is the ultimate fantasy left for the future. Alright. So here's something interesting. This is actually mentioned in Symposium by Kanako. So as I mentioned before, Kanako approaches Utsuho and gives her the Yatagarasu without Satori's notifying Satori, right? Now, the reason Utsuho was chosen, according to Kanako, those that receive great power cannot handle it for various reasons. And oftentimes, it's because they are too intelligent that they cannot comprehend the power they have been given and they go mad. However, Utsuho's head was empty enough that it could contain all of that power. So that's why she was chosen. She was so empty upstairs that she could actually carry the power of the Yatagarasu. And so she did. This is real, by the way. This is Symposium. I mean, obviously she's a bird brain, but one of the reasons Oku can even holster this power is because there's not much going on upstairs. Because she does not think, she does not go mad with power. That said, she did kind of go a little bit mad with power. Just a little bit. You can leave ultimate power in an idiot's hands because he does not know how to misuse it. Look at Okoyasu with his power, his stand, right? The hand. That stand is broken, but because Okoyasu is a fucking idiot, it's never gonna do anything more than be like, whoosh. Cool, look at that. Check it out, Josuke, and then Josuke, you know, crazy diamond, all that good shit. Let's see. Okay. So there was a lot of lore there. You know what's interesting? There was like nothing on Utsuho herself. I mean, there was, but not really. It was actually, I think it actually went more in the universe. It more so explained what she does in the area and how she worked and how Kanako approached her. But there actually is like literally nothing on her personality. Yeah, there's like nothing on her personality in here at all. It's all just a story of the character, so I can't even put that in character lore. Damn. Okay. And now we have the true head empty. Koishi. Four, huh? Motherfucker, that's big. Okay. The extra stage boss, the closed eyes of love. Komeiji Koishi. Species, Satori. Ability, manipulating the unconscious. Satori Komeiji's younger sister. Like Satori, she was a yokai who has the ability to read others' minds. However, knowing that people don't like having their minds read, Koishi closed her mind-reading third eye. As a result, she lost her ability to read others' minds, but in return, she gained the ability to take action unconsciously. The denizens of the underground no longer hated her, but at the same time, they never feared her and animals no longer loved her. The ability to read people's minds is the strength of one's own mind. Closing off that ability because its hatred is just running away and is no different from closing off one's own mind. It's effectively pushing away others' feelings and shutting down. She became a yokai who wandered to and fro aimlessly. Personally, she thought it was fun, so it wasn't really a problem. People around her felt a little sorry for her. Even her older sister Satori is unable to read Koishi's sealed away mind and doesn't really know where she goes or what she does there. Just like a pet cat, she leaves and returns and leaves again according to her own whims. Satori took pity on Koishi, ordering her pets to play with her and giving her some pets to keep as her own. She thought that taking care of the pets might give her a purpose, and it might enable her to begin opening her mind to others again. Indeed, it seemed that Koishi began to change, ever so slightly, after she began to raise her pets. She heard that a human had come from above ground and had fought with her sister, Oku, and the other pets, and was amazed at the incredible power Oku had gotten, so she decided to go see the above ground world for herself. Because she could act unconsciously, she remained unnoticed. She could go above ground, sneak past sleeping shrine maidens, or go into the mountains in Tengu guarded, and nobody would take notice of her. In a way, it was convenient, but she was also lonely. However, she had no mind capable of feeling this loneliness. At her destination, the shrine atop the mountain, she happened to meet a human. Her meeting with the stranger changed her mental state ever so slightly. She thought how amazing it is to meet such an interesting person and wanted to know more about her. For the first time, she regretted having closed her third eye. I'll start by inviting her underground to the Palace of the Earth Spirits. I wonder what kind of fight she had with my sister, Oku and Orin. I wonder what kind of yokai she's fought with. I want to hear her endless stories. When she thought this, Koishi felt the lid of her third eye begin to shift a little. So, So that's Koishi. So the bit at the end there is interesting because it makes a little bit of note about her eye. Now here's the thing. I have no idea if Koishi's eye can ever be reopened. But according to this Omake, closing her eye was equivalent to shutting her mind down. Closing off her mind. Is it possible for her to recover? That kind of thing? But that's the thing. I don't know. The Omake is the only thing that ever mentions anything about her eye in this amount. So I don't know if it's possible for Koishi's eye to ever come back to normal. Some fan interpretations have it as a done deal because she's a very tragic character. But I don't think it's necessarily impossible based on this Omake. But I've never seen anyone do it. Actually, I think the Aya Ace Attorney game did it, didn't it? So yeah, Koishi is a very sad character. She simply couldn't take her mind reading. She couldn't take knowing, and so she ran away from it, and as a result, closed off her own mind and became what she is. There was a case, yeah, there was a case at Aya. I don't think Koishi opened her eye, but I know Satori did. Because she would have been cheating in that case if her eye was open. Hopeless Masquerade. Imaginary personality holder, Komeiji Koishi. She remembered nothing. When she came to, she was blended into the crowd. Not a soul noticed it. Every day she lived like that, without dreams and without hope. But after unexpectedly being challenged to a fight, her daily life changed just a little bit. Special skill, super responsive senses. Responsive my ass. When you input a heavy melee, heavy ranged, or a special attack, she strikes a pose while setting an attack, and depending on certain conditions, like where the opponent is or how much time has elapsed, it will forcibly activate. She is one of the weirdest characters I've ever seen in a fighting game. Attacks that can be set are heavy melee, heavy range, and special attacks. One by one, you set the different attacks, the reaction icon of the gauge will light up. Last word, Brambley Rose Garden. Draws the opponent into a sea of random Danmaku and captures them. They cannot guard against the random Danmaku, and because touching it draws the opponent slowly towards you, even if there is a bit of distance, it will ensnare the opponent without question. Koishi has some like insane moves, and I think that's to compensate for the fact that you can't use them yourself. You have to plant the idea in Koishi's head, and then she goes off and does it anyway. She knows better than me. I'm a button masher. Urban Legend and Limbo. So actually, before I jump onto that, a little bit for Koishi's ending in Hopeless Masquerade. So if it wasn't for the fact that Koishi found the Mask of Hope when she did, there was a very real possibility that Koishi's entire existence would just kind of cease to be acknowledgeable. You know, like Koishi's name, as we know, means little pebble. She's a little pebble on the road. The thing about Koishi is that if everybody forgets about her, she's not going to disappear in the sense that she's going to die, but nobody would ever be able to perceive her, so she would effectively have disappeared from the world. But she would still exist, you know, but she would live in her own world, completely absent from everyone else. You ever see Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai? If you've seen that anime, you have an idea what I'm talking about here. A character who cannot be perceived by others consciously, but they still exist nonetheless. It is dark. But because she found the Mask of Hope, she developed a little hope, and she kept on, and she managed to avoid a terrible fate. She can be seen by kids, yes. Koishi can be perceived by little kids because their consciousness is not fully developed yet. It's a similar manner to imaginary friends for them. Also, apparently, Koishi has the ability to make you forget if you saw her. Like if you interact with her and she walks away, she could just be like, "Yeah, you saw nothing," and then you just don't remember who you were talking to. Koishi's presence is very, very, very weak. Urban Legend and Limbo. The true horror standing right behind you. Koishi Komeiji. Occult name Mary's Phone. This one's a classic. With her attacks being prepared unconsciously and then executed at her own will, she's a character with unprecedented specialization. Without a plan, you'll shoot yourself in the foot, but by making the most of the circumstances, it's also possible to counterattack with immense power. With that, her occult attack is I'm coming to get you now. Koishi makes a call to the character near her, and when it hits, she moves to attack them from behind. Each time you make a call, its range increases until there's finally no escape. Yeah, that's where Koishi with a knife took off. Antinomy of Common Flowers. Now, this is an interesting title. Satori who unintentionally closed her heart. But she did do that. She did it on purpose, right? What do you mean unintentionally? Koishi Komeiji. Aw, man, I really wanted a whale on her 2 against 1. Damn, okay, violent. A Satori who lost her mind-reading abilities by closing her third eye. With perfect possession, she can possess and take over other people's bodies. Even today, this empty-headed Satori is out there casually possessing someone. A surprising character who interrupts with moves that differ from the player's inputs, has super reflexes surpassing her super reflexes surpass human limitations, but whether they'll blow up in your face is up to the player who uses her. Wow. Alright. So, I'm putting her up there with Orin for the cool universe. So we learn about her as a character for sure. Yeah, she was trying to not read minds, but in doing so, she ended up closing off her own mind. Because her heart, her mind, her heart, her eye are all interconnected, essentially. So, yeah, Koishi is a very tragic character. The Satori sisters, the Komeiji sisters, are quite tragic. They're quite tragic. It's hard not to feel for them, really. But the thing about Koishi is that because of her actions, people can't really feel anything about her at all. In a way, she got what she wanted. She can never be hated, but she can also never really be loved. And that in itself is very tragic. Does Hatate even have Omake? She does. Huh. Surprisingly lengthy. Okay. Modern day thoughtography reporter Hime Kaido Hatate. Race, Crotengu. Ability, spirit photography. Hatate is a reporter that never goes outside for her newspaper research. She takes pictures using thoughtography and using them for her articles. Hatate's thoughtography works by inputting keywords for her camera, which she uses to find associated photos. She doesn't feel the need to go outside because this is convenient. The newspaper she writes, Kakashi Spirit News, has never been that popular. This is only natural, for the articles she wrote were things people had heard of already. Photography lacks speed and freshness. Then Hatate read Aya's Boom Boom Mutter newspaper. These articles are utter nonsense, but why do they have this strange appeal? Why is it that its headlines never overlap with other newspapers? In order to find out Aya's secret, Hatate decided to observe her. That was when she found out Aya's secret. Aya wasn't covering events. Aya was causing the events themselves. Oh, that's good. It was you the whole time. No wonder Aya's articles are so good. I gotta put that under, double sick lore. Double sick lore. Because that was actually a pretty decent amount of information on Hatate's stuff. But also a little bit on her newspaper. And also why she headed out to find Aya in the first place. And double spoiler. Which is fucking hilarious. That's good. Her articles are so good because she's out there. She's covered wars, you know. More like she's caused them. Alright, guess who's next? I'll give you a hint. It's Star Sapphire. Wait, that's not a hint. That's the answer. Oh. Whatever. Wait. Wait, no Omake? What? Sunny Milk? Sunny Milk? Huh? Wahaha. Nothing for Sunny Milk? Luna Child? Oh my god. Oh my... Alright, there's no Omake, but there is this. there is that. Bleh. Holy fuck, that's cute. Yo, thank you, yo boy Matoy, for this, the raid. I didn't know you streamed, dude. Do you actually stream games, or are you just streaming like your do you stream your editing, your performances? Because I know some people stream their editing process. I could not imagine doing that because I'd be so bored watching myself edit. Oh man. Hoi oi oi. Well, at least everybody gets to see Ghost Luna, even though there's nothing else on the screen right now. I imagine making music is a lot more interesting than watching edited content, yeah. Because music is a lot more engaging to listen to begin with. Stream the music making. Oh, I see. So there's a lot of channels that do that, so I'm not sure why I'm so surprised. But you never know what people are streaming, right? I mean, look at me. Look at me. 2.5 hours. The stream has been nothing but images. Just this. This is it. The visual. It's just me yapping. Yapping so much that my throat is getting sore. Next is the rat, by the way, who should have 2 Omake texts if it's counting the mid-boss as well, from stage 5. Whoa. Whoa, Nazrin showed up in the fairy? Look at this. Look at that. She looks like a fairy. I mean, I guess that's just the style. That's just the style, but she kind of looks like the fairies. Maybe it's just she's small. I was right, she does have... Oh, she has 3, actually. Interesting. Okay. Rat egg? I couldn't line it up anymore because the tier list got bigger. Alright, stage 1 boss, the little Dowser General, Nazrin. Race the mouse yokai. Cheese to meet you. Finding sought for items. A natural-born dowser. They say she controls a great number of field mice to find what she's looking for. However, if it's food, the mice will eat it all up before they can get it to her. She's cunning and will flee from a fight as soon as she sees an enemy stronger than herself. It seems she was ordered to look for something for something by somebody, but what could it be? I meet someone. I'm cheese to meet them. They leave. This is the cycle of introductions. Listen, if they can't handle me saying cheese to meet you, they didn't deserve me, alright? They don't deserve you at your best if they can't handle you at your worst. Same text here. It's a little more, hold on. She went to and fro looking for the 2 things Sho entrusted her to find. One was the fragments of the flying storehouse that were being called the flying treasure. The other was the jeweled pagoda of Bisha Mountain. The case goes cold. Yep. It's the cycle. It's the cycle of life. Stage 5 mid-boss, the little Dowser General Nazrin. She finally found the jeweled pagoda. Actually, she kept it a secret from Murasa that she was looking for it. Sho probably didn't tell anyone, but her own underlings she'd lost something so important. Hi. Yeah. Wow, there is like nothing in there at all. Well, we're putting that under more rat. I need more rat-based information, if you don't mind. However, wrong Kogasa. Kogasa. Whoa. Okay. She's got 2 in here. I read this one earlier in the week, actually. Pardon me. A few weeks ago, actually. Stage 2 boss, the cheery forgotten umbrella, Kogasa Tatara. Race, the Karakasa Omake, ability surprising humans. An umbrella that was left unused and became a yokai. She was originally an umbrella someone forgot, but since the color is unpopular, nobody ever picked her up, and she was carried off by the wind and became a yokai. What's wrong with a purple umbrella? What's wrong with purple? Purple's cool. She rarely really hurts anyone. She just likes watching people be surprised. However, not many people have been surprised by her, so she's reading classic ghost stories to improve her technique. Extra stage mid-boss, the cheery forgotten umbrella Kogasa Tatara. She figured you'd be best off trying to surprise people at night, so that's why she showed up. She didn't know if anyone would really be surprised or not. She's the only passerby yokai in this game. She's currently thinking of plotting to go startle Byakuren, who just opened a temple in the Gensokyo. Do you remember in okay, so first of all, Byakuren is, she's a saint. She wouldn't hurt a fly if she could avoid it. But in double focus, I absolutely love that Byakuren because she gut punched Tei so hard that Tei crumpled. She actually hit her with a red focus, and Tei just could not get up. Buddha may forgive you, but I certainly will not. That's a powerful line. Okay. Stage 3 mid-boss greatly troubled with lost article. Kogasa Tatara. You know the drill. A yokai umbrella that wanders around the sky above the temple. She found her place in the cemetery and found herself living in the cemetery most of the time. This is because while humans that are rarely surprised in the middle of the road, they are easily scared when they are in the cemetery. And she finally did it. Amazing. But an incident has crept up to disrupt her truly happy time. A yokai who has never seen before has been appearing from the inside of the cemetery and has been moving around like it was her home ever since. She tried to get in contact with the yokai, but she couldn't communicate with the yokai at all. Feeling threatened, she wanted to shoo away the yokai forcefully, but that ended up as futility. No matter how she attacked, she couldn't get a response out of it, so she escaped. While she was considering whether she should ask for help from the members of the temple, she saw those humans that she saw before. They were those whom she encountered and fought several times before, and so she thought they must have come to defeat that yokai, and decided to ask boldly. And she ended up like this. That's right. So she shows up in stage 3 in 10 Desires to ask for your help, and then you blow her up anyway. So here's a fun little story about this character. As you know, Kogasa is a blacksmith. Kogasa was also a babysitter once upon a time. Apparently, Kogasa is familiar with Mary Poppins as well, because she makes reference about babysitters flying in on umbrellas in an article with Aya. Which, there's no two ways about that being a Mary Poppins reference, right? Oh, pardon me. So, honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna put her here. No, hear me out. Hear me out. Kogasa likes to scare people, that much is for certain. Pretty much everything here is about her just trying to figure out how to scare people, but a lot of her additional characterization comes from outside sources. So while I think it's neat, it's another situation where it's like, please more characterization, but she got more characterization, so I can't put her in more characterization, so I'm putting her in neat. Also, I agree. I think it's cool that how there's a part of her represents Ippon Datara as well. Because I guess the Katakase Obake and the Ippon Datara share similarities in appearance, both being one-eyed, one-legged yokai. But the Ippon Datara is known as a master of smithing, said to have lost its other eye and other leg due to forging accidents. It's actually a rather docile creature, and it only attacks you on one day of the year. And her name, Tatara, which, sounds like Datara, but Tatara is actually like the name of the furnace that's used for forgery or forging. So her name is a combination of her name is basically small umbrella and furnace essentially. Not necessarily furnace, mind you, but her name references the fact that she is an umbrella and also, blacksmithing, which is why she's a blacksmith. It's not because she's a cyclops. She's not a cyclops. Holy fuck. Chat, it's 8 to 8. It's 8 to 8. It's 8 to 8. So, hold on. It's 8 to 8. The Myoden crew is gonna be big. The Myoden crew is going to be quite big. Because it's gonna have all the lore of all 5 of them. Yeah, Byakuren's gonna be fucking loaded on text. So Oh my god. I'll do one more. I'll do one more for Ichirin, because Ichirin is also gonna have fighting game text. Maybe Unzan will have text as well. Oh, there's 4 in here. Okay, not that big. Okay. Last one. Stage 3 boss, the big wheel having guarded and being guarded. Ichirin Kumoi. Race yokai ability using Nudo. A yokai guarding the ship which seems to have a secret. She was using Nudo to keep watch. She wasn't ordered by someone to stand guard. She's doing it of her own accord. It's unknown just what she's after. Ichirin's personality is very straightforward, but she's quick thinking and understands things easily. Unzan is kind of dull, so it's easier for her to control him. Since Ichirin is a member of Murasa's group of yokai, she also misses Byakuren. She is devoted to Byakuren, who was even kind to her Nyuru companion. Hopeless Masquerade. Overwhelming yokai aesthetic, Kumoi, Ichirin, and Unzan. The Myodan Temple's chief priest has left the temple for a while. It seems she has some important job regarding humans, but she told Ichirin, a priest in training, to keep watch over the temple. However, the situation changes quickly. Challengers appear at the Myodan Temple. Special skill, Quiet Rage. As Ichirin receives damage, her rage meter gets filled up. And when it reaches the end, she enters an enraged mode that increases her attack power. This rage mode boosts attack power high enough to be able to turn the tides of battle in an instant. I fucking hate X Factor, dude. Dumb mechanic. Last word, the magnificent era of old men. That's me, I'm old men. Answering the voices of popularity from the audience, Unzan enters the battle for real. During this time, rather than controlling Ichirin, you control Unzan, and you can perform attacks of an overwhelming scale. Ichirin below him appears defenseless at first, but as she is being protected by Unzan, any damage she takes will be decreased and can easily return the favor to a careless opponent that counterattacks. Astonishing, the tall Nyudu handler. Ichirin Kumoi and Unzan, and her occult name is Hashaku-sama. Hashaku-sama is 2chan Slender Man. She is a long, lanky, pale woman in a white hat and like a white sundress. And she's like 8 feet tall, so, you know, we're gonna chalk that under, moving on. An overwhelming power character accompanied by Unzan who can mow down anything, that's Ichirin. No matter what disadvantage or unfavorable situations may bring, those fists blow them away with one punch. This time around, she's acquired the ability to use her occult attack to release Hashaku-sama's power onto her opponent, trapping them in a cursed, enclosed space. Stubborn and... oh, wait, sorry. I jumped ahead there. Stubborn and massively Herculean Nudu handler, Ichirin Kumoi. Lady Hijiri came up with this plan, that is to investigate the perfect possessions in a team of 2. A yokai monk from the temple who can control Nudo. She ventures into the possession battles at the behest of her master, who is investigating the perfect possession incident, but she and her partner seem to have quarreled to no end over which of them has the authority of being the pair's master. She fights with an overwhelming power and reach of the Nudo partner, Unzan, as long as you can compensate for her slow speed, your opponents will be helpless. Okay, so here's the thing. There were 3 of them in there for fighting games, but they were more so about the situation of the game than anything. There really isn't, you know, I gotta say, I'm actually kind of impressed at how little there was there for a character who's shown up in so many games. It's neat, I guess. I don't really know what else to call it. I wouldn't say more characters. There's more, like, Ichi didn't just show up in written works, and to some extent. She also has her story about how she met Unzan as well, but again, that's not in the Omake. So it's another one. They ever explain why she's a yokai? To be honest with you, I believe the only explanation we've ever got is after she ended up defeating Unzan, and Unzan started hanging out with her, she just gradually became a yokai over time. Like, I have no idea. I don't think she doesn't classify as anything but a yokai, but she wasn't a yokai. She wasn't a yokai when she first set out to defeat Unzan, you know? She just kind of became a yokai over time. Humans started fearing her by extension of Unzon. See, that actually makes perfect sense. That actually makes sense. But it's also kind of weird because a human feared by other humans doesn't necessarily make them a yokai, you know? Yokai by association. And eventually she just became one. I mean, she's been alive for a pretty long time, I suppose. It's funny, though, because when you think about how she beat Unzon, it was not anything... It wasn't something nobody else, like, only she could do. You know? Ichirin has very, very little lore, yeah. I think she's neat. She looks better with her hood down, though. That much is certain. And of course, Unzon makes the completes the character. Oh, alright, chat. Approaching the 3-hour mark, and I did 2.5 games. Wow. I'm just never gonna finish this. This is just never gonna end. I'm halfway through 12, and I still have all the way up to 18 to do. Oh my god. You know, I'll get there eventually. I don't really know. I guess the main difference is that Ichirin hangs out with yokai regularly, but you could also argue so does Reimu. Hell, so does Sakuya. What about Ichirin makes her what about Ichirin makes her turn into a yokai, but characters like Sakuya, who literally works for the devil, like she does not interact with humans, but she's still human, right? Some of these characters in Omake won't be present, but it's okay. But yeah, that's where we're gonna stop it for today, chat. Hope you enjoyed more sick lore, more awesome, cool, sick lore. It really is good. No, this is quite fun to do. It's fun to do, and I do get sidetracked a lot, but I like talking about the series, so it's fun to talk about it. But as a result, some characters end up taking like 15 minutes to get through, and I don't even realize the amount of time has passed. Either way, I did chip away at it. So far it's pretty good. I think so far, you could argue a few of my decisions here for sure. But so far, it's all personal opinion anyway. I think for the most part, I got everything. Characters that have things that interest me, that are neat. Things that are interesting, but less so focused on the characters and more so on the world building. And then characters that don't have any world building at all, but a few parts of their characterization that I thought was like actually like rather intriguing. So again, it's a matter of opinion what I consider sick character lore, you know? So neat, I guess, is just like neat, but sick character lore is like, yo, I didn't know that, that's Pog. Or in Rumia's case, I did know that, but I still think it's Pog. Anyway, this will resume next week. For those of you that are still sticking through this, thank you. Glad you're enjoying it. But also, it's going to end up being like 10 hours long. So, you know, this is basically, this entire set of streams is just me talking. So at least you don't have to actually watch the stream if you're into that kind of thing. Call it a podcast if you want. It's featuring me, myself, and I. But I will complete this eventually. And when I do, you know, it'll be a big, it'll be big.